We're back after a longer than it should have been break. We are back. I do apologize. I mean, it was the holidays, Christmas, and everything. We kind of disappeared abruptly without making an announcement, and then we weren't back last week like we planned. But there's a reason for that. But first, let me say hello. I am your host, Alex the Shark Sparks. Joining me as always is my co-host and partner in crime, Mitch the Smokestack Black, and our producer. Oh, the PTO Prince in here again. What's that? We have a new guest today. It's Miles LaQuack Black joining the squad here on the podcast. He'll be filling in. And yeah, before you go giving Vinny a hard time, which I'm all about giving him a hard time, the reason he's not here this time for once in his life is a valid excuse. He just had a little boy. Everyone welcome Renzo to the squad. He's not here today because he's like 2 weeks old. But, or even 1 week old. But once he's ready, we'll have him on. But until then, welcome in, Delvers, and say hello to the pod squad out there, boys.
Welcome. If you can hear my clapping, I'm not sure if you can. Welcome to the Legacy League, Renzo.
The Legacy
Welcome.
League. We now have what? How many kids we got for the Legacy League going so far? Like 5?
Depending on how many we allow entries, we only allow one per.
I mean, we got 4. We got 4 Sparks and 3 Black in the main league. So because we got what? We got Brake's got a couple. Austin's got 1. Luis has got 1, and Vinny's got 1. That puts us at 5. Am I missing anybody?
Matt has 2.
Matt has 2. 7.
Yo, that's
So we
that's
need
close.
we need at least 2 more for a 10-man or sorry, at least 3 more for a 10-man league. So
All right, Matt and Adam, if you're listening to this, you got to start producing more. Because Mitchell, Alex, and I are not going to do it.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't think we're gonna be the ones contributing. So
Definitely not.
Don't think I'll be contributing to the Legacy League. Also, do we have good paternity leave pay, or I don't think it's a very good package, is it?
honestly, before we even considered giving him any kind of paternity leave, I realized that he was the one approving, PTO. We need to hire someone else for that because, like, he gave himself so many days off last year. He's kind of already used up his paternity leave, to be honest. But we'll give him a pass, mainly because I think Dakota would probably, kill him if he tried to come and do the pod, and deservedly so. She did all the hard work giving birth to the baby. So it's time for Vinny to step up and put in some work on his side. So, but yeah, we wish them all the best. Sorry they can't be here, but totally understand why, and happy for him and the fam, and him, Dakota, and Renzo, all them. But yeah, let's dive into it. We've been gone for a while. There's a ton to talk about. So before we get into actual NFL sports, I want to briefly talk about what happened in DoD, just because, like, the fantasy season's over. In fact, the fantasy season ended 2 weeks ago at this point. Like a week and a half ago. So, it's going to be weird if we talk about fantasy at the end as opposed to the beginning. So we'll talk about fantasy first and then get to the actual football because, like, that's still very much happening. So real quick, touch on fantasy, something none of us want to see. So for those who don't remember, all 3 members of the pod did make the playoffs. Vinny, myself, and Mitch. I lost to Vinny in round 1. Mitch lost to his brother Matt in round 2. And then Matt took home the W. As you can see the score up here, Matt, I think his 2 best scores of the entire season came in the playoffs. He scored 131 in the Super Bowl, and he scored 100. Where is it? Oh, he scored 131 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, he scored 131 fantasy points 2 weeks in a row, which, for those who've been in our league or paid attention, like, 131 will win you 99.99% of your matches. So the fact that he dropped that number 2 weeks in a row, like, it's one of those where he got hot at the right time. So nothing much to say. I mean, obviously, I wasn't rooting for you, Matt. I got to be honest, because you got more than everybody else, and I'm sick of it. But yeah, Matt showed out, specifically Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has been on an absolute tear the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything to say. It's your brother. How do you guys feel about it?
I least favorite podcast. I'm glad we delayed for 3 weeks. My choice of words is a little bit different now than before. Also, Alex, I don't think you're sharing the screen. But first off, congrats, Matt. Well done. Unfortunately, it does make me now have to try even harder next year to tie him back up. So that's that. Also, at the same time, it's interesting the playoff teams because let's be realistic. I didn't really have a QB. They did it all without elite QBs, which is,
Except for Vinny. I think we talked about. Except
Yeah, Dak was in there, but I wouldn't call him elite this year. He wasn't
And
a
he
four.
finished QB3.
Yeah, but click on his stats real quick. If I
And
remember.
first of all, again, you finished with QB1. You can't. I know that you don't want to play him, but you can't make the argument that the top QB didn't make the fantasy Super Bowl because he did. You just chose not to play him. So,
Well, not the Super Bowl. Even if I did play him, he wouldn't have beat Matt's 131 score.
no, he wouldn't have. But like, you're saying no top QBs made it. Well, the number one fantasy QB, Matt Stafford, was in the playoffs. He was on your team. You just didn't play him.
Yeah, but look at his numbers.
And I would argue that Dak being QB5 is elite.
Yeah, but at 335.
Right, but there was no 400 point QB this year, right?
That's what I'm trying to say is, so I guess anyone who waited, like, go back to the draft, it's what? 1 Burrow hurt, 2 Allen winner, 3 Lamar hurt, 4 Jaden hurt. So basically, if you did avoid early QBs, it was the better strat, is what I'm trying to say. And I went early QB. And
well,
I'm the biggest
it
proponent of
was
it,
it was if you guessed correctly, and you
what
know.
were the guesses? Like what? May? That didn't work. Yeah, Dak.
Well, yeah, because
guess.
I mean, like, massive props to Austin. Drake May and
Yeah.
Jared Goff were his 2 quarterbacks taken, and look where they are.
Yeah, good job.
So
Yeah, so
and
this is the great year to call it. If you waited on QBs, this was the perfect year to do it. Congrats. And then hopefully next year, whoever does the name order does not put Matt in a top 4 pick. Please don't. Thanks.
yeah, I mean, if you look at this, so like Matt Stafford, backup, not he shouldn't have been, but because of you, he was. So the point I'm making, Matt
Sure,
Stafford,
yeah.
backup.
Quick question, sorry.
Sure.
Is this including weeks 17 and 18's points?
It should, yeah.
Okay, so this just skewed because our stats only go to week 16. Because I thought for sure entering in Dak was number 3, but now he's number 5, which would make sense. But if we're including week 17 and 18 stats, then yeah, that changes.
Yeah, unfortunately,
It
there's no
changes
way
a
for me
little,
to
but
there's no way for me to do
yeah.
like by time set. I don't think, but either way, like the point that I'm making is QB1 was a backup, QB4 was a backup, QB what is this 7 was a backup, and then QB9 was a backup.
Yeah.
So no, it's sorry, QB10 too was also a backup.
He hit on James Cook, and I was always high on James Cook at the beginning, and that puts Vinny into a nice little pie in the face. And then
Yeah, Vinny's getting pied for sure. James Cook wasn't just good this year; he was the rushing leader on the season, Mitch.
yeah, yeah. So there's that one. Enjoy the pie on that one, Vinny. And then he hit with Pickens was one of the best mid-round picks, and then he doubled up on Kittles and Ferguson or whatever. So there's just really, really well drafted and well earned.
So yeah, my only comment is, as awful a season that I had, I did correctly call that Matt would win it at the very beginning of the year. If you remember that, you told me to pick Matt's team because last year I picked Austin's team, and that was the complete opposite because he finished last. So I felt like at the very beginning that Matt had the strongest team, and that was the only thing I got right this season at this league. So I'll take that one victory.
I mean, do you want to get invited back to the podcast? Because hyping up Matt, I'm just kidding. No, congratulations, Matt. Well earned. I mean, just yeah. I mean, he got hot at the right time. That's all I can say. I mean, I don't know what his normal average score was, but it certainly wasn't 131 because no one's was, and the fact that he dropped them back-to-back weeks is just impressive.
Vinny's going for the Bills. He's going for 3 straight Super Bowl losses. That's what he's looking forward to next year.
Anyway, but yeah, so that's what happened in DoD. So now we'll get to actual NFL news. There's obviously a lot to talk about. We can kind of go from any direction we want to hit on this. What do you guys want to start with? Individual stats, playoffs picture, coaching stuff. Where do we want to start? I want to try to keep it a little organized. So we'll pick a category and work that category before we go to the next.
So I kind of see 3 categories: the current playoffs we got, and matchups. Correct me if I'm wrong too. We got the current teams that are available, the teams that didn't make it, and that are either should have made or are disappointing because we've had a lot of wild cards that entered, and then also technically a lot of teams off-season changes, so like coaching changes.
So that's basically what I'm saying. Do we want to talk about what the actual playoff picture is, or the coaching changes, or okay, we'll start with Let's start with the actual playoff picture then. Sounds good. So, NFL playoffs are set. Let me see if I can show the bracket here. Broncos did end up with the number 1 seed in the AFC, so they get the bye. Steelers managed to hang on to defeat the Ravens in what was both a great and horrible game at the same time. It came down to the final game of the season, Monday Night Football. Winner wins the division, and it's the 4 seed. Losers out of the playoffs. The Steelers scored to go up by 2 and then missed the extra point, so a field goal can now win the game as opposed to tie. The Ravens then drive the field and get into chip shot field goal range, only to have their rookie kicker, Tyler Loop, miss the field goal, sending them home. Ball game, Steelers hang on to win. The Texans had a massively impressive run. They are the 5 seeds, so they're not going to get a home game, but I would be watching out for the Texans. I'll have a stat on that later. Jaguars, they've been rolling as well, but they do host the Bills, and that can always go either way because everyone keeps talking about how, the Bills have the easiest path they've had now that, Mahomes and Lamar and Burrow aren't in the playoffs, but it's kind of discounting all the other teams. And then lastly, you have the Patriots as the 2 seed, and the Chargers squeaking in, kind of limping into the playoffs as the 7 seed on the AFC side. So we'll stick with the AFC first, guys. What are your thoughts about the teams here on the AFC side? Who do you think is your favorite? Who do you think is the sleeper that could go far? And then is there anyone that you think just has absolutely no chance?
Just keeping into the AFC.
Yeah, right now we're just talking AFC, then we'll go NFC next.
It'll be interesting to see this Chargers team go into Foxborough. For 20 years, having to say that sentence, Chargers going into Foxborough, has not gone well. This is obviously 2 different teams now, but that one's the most interesting to me. I will be personally rooting for the Steelers and the Bills on both sides, even when we go to the NFC. Those are my 2 teams this year. So I'm hoping
I just
that
love that even after all this time off, nothing has changed. I asked you 2 specific questions, and you've answered neither of them.
what are the specific questions?
So my question was, who do you think is the favorite? Who do you think is a sleeper? And then technically the third question of who do you think has no chance? And your response was to tell me who you're rooting for, which has nothing to do with like.
Well, I mean, I know the odds already for who the favorite is, so
Right,
that's
but I'm
all.
asking who you think. Come on, we don't always agree with Vegas, right, Mitch? Right?
Yeah.
So
All right.
who do you think of the AFC teams? Who do you think
Yeah.
is the favorite to go to the Super Bowl? Who do you think is a sleeper that has a good chance to go, even though they may not have great odds, as you say, or high rating, high seeding? Sorry.
Sleepers, Steelers, best, the team that I think will actually make the Super Bowl is the Broncos. I think the Broncos defense is massively underrated. Everyone talks about year 2 slumps with quarterbacks. Bo Nix, if this is his year 2 slump, it's a pretty good year. You look at all these other quarterbacks and they're like, oh wow, this year 2 narrative of like, they've got you figured out. How can you adjust and all that? Well, yeah, Bo Nix has had some down games and even a down month. But if this is his lowest of the lows he's supposed to slump in, I think the Broncos are massively underrated. The trust in the play calling, the trust in the ability to run, the trust in the home field advantage, and then that defense is no joke. This might be the year of the defenses that brings you far. So if that's true, that Broncos defense and that Texans defense actually is really nasty. So I think the Broncos are going out of this. I'm rooting for the Steelers and Bills though.
Right. So so you've got the Broncos as the favorite. You think the Steelers are a sleeper team that might outperform expectations. Is there
Yeah,
anyone? Is there
yeah.
anyone that you think they didn't deserve to be in the playoffs? They have no chance.
Oh no, I think the AFC definitely earned it. Even even the Steelers. I think that Steelers and Ravens teams are a bit underrated as well, just because the expectations were higher. But no, I mean, I will comment though that if the Bills don't do well this year, I think Dermott should be out and they should try someone new in there. I will say that strongly.
All right, Miles. What about you?
All right. So to make sure that I answer the questions correctly,
Well,
the
that's how these things work, right? When I ask a question, it's expected that you'll answer the
I
question.
even had to write it down so I didn't
All
forget,
right,
so I
cool.
didn't look
Thanks.
dumb. So I shouldn't say that out loud. But anyways, favorite. So I think the obvious favorite in the AFC is the Broncos. I think Mitchell highlighted every point accurately that in looking at totality of the defenses, even with Texans in there, the Broncos are by far the most superior. I was listening to the Dan Patrick Show podcast, and they pointed out an interesting stat of the day. I believe it was on Monday when it came out that 50% since the new reseeding, since they added 7 seeds, for each side, 14 total teams. 50% of the 1 seeds make it to the Super Bowl. So realistically,
Interesting.
Broncos have set themselves up for the most success. They have the experience in the head coach that just knows how to coach in the postseason, and Sean Payton. As much criticism Bo Nix has received this year, he has done the job that is needed to win in crucial times. I was actually impressed with Bo Nix's improvement from last year this year, unlike a lot of other people. So the favorite, in my opinion, is the Broncos, and they have the best defense to do it. Sleeper, I'm gonna go out of the way and say the Texans. Um, I was close to picking the Jaguars as a sleeper just because of playing in form. Jaguars have been the hottest team in the AFC, actually,
That's
going into
fair.
the postseason. But I'm picking the Texans just because how they turned around their season. The first month, we all thought DeMarco, what's his name, the head coach? I'm sorry, DeMarco
For
Ryan, I
who?
believe, for the
D'Amico
D'Amico
Ryans.
Texans.
Ryans?
D'Amico
Yeah.
Ryan, sorry, thank you, D'Amico Ryans. We all thought he was going to probably be like the second or third coach fired in the season. Like, who's going to be the first coach fired? Who's going to be second? He was on that hot seat. He completely turned around that team in midseason form, which shows that he's competent. Unlike some other coaches who got fired and did the opposite. But anyways, sticking on topic, the Texans offense has actually been producing in the top 15 in the last 8 weeks. So it's been formidable. And if you have that defense, they could be a sleeper that upsets the Steelers, upset the Broncos, and could upset either the Patriots or the Bills or even the Jaguars in the next matchup. So the Broncos or Texans path, if I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans make it as a sleeper team. My no chance team for the AFC is nothing against them as a team, and I love their coach and I love their system, is the Chargers, only because how they were so successful at the beginning of the year being the number one offense is that O-line. That O-line was elite. They have the most injuries. They've had the most changes other than Arizona to like their O-line. And I believe one other team on top of my head, but they've had the most turnover. And at this time of the year, when you're playing the Patriots, I think they have a favorable matchup because the Patriots don't have a great pass rush. So if you're going to have a first round team with a weak O line or a questionable O line, it is to play the Patriots because the Patriots' only weakness is getting to the quarterback. And you can all see when Justin Herbert has time, he was an MVP candidate. But unfortunately, I don't think they have a chance because no matter, even if they do upset the Patriots, I don't think they have a chance against the Jaguars or Bills in the next round. And they definitely don't have a chance against the Steelers, Texans, or Broncos. So those are my 3 choices.
Yeah, I kind of think Miles copied my homework there a little bit. We have very similar answers. Just a couple of things flipped. My favorite, I think, is the Jaguars. As you mentioned, the Jaguars have been the hottest team in the AFC, and it's not close. Both them and the Texans have been very hot. The difference is the Jaguars are peaking at the right time, whereas the Texans are still in a bunch of nail biter games. They just happen to win. The Jaguars are just blowing teams out, including they blew out the Broncos in Denver. So if they do end up having to play the Broncos in, say, the AFC Championship, the Jaguars should be the favorite based on what we saw a few weeks ago. So Jaguars are my favorite. My sleeper team is the Texans. You mentioned how good their offense has been. It's not just their offense. Over the last 10 weeks, they've been 9-1. That's a hard record to look at and think they're not going to do well. And then as far as the team that is not deserve to be here is the Chargers. And the same reason you said, Miles, is that they have no offensive line. It's like it'd be like if they had the three of us suit up this weekend, it wouldn't be much worse than what they have. And that's a problem when you're playing against a professional football team. So, yeah, my money's on Jags and Texans as the people out of the AFC. So let's move to the NFC now. So, quick breakdown.
Well, real quick, I have a couple questions for
Go,
Logan.
go.
Which one of you think has the biggest spread between those 3 games? Like, which one do you
Biggest
think has the
spread?
biggest spread? Yeah. So, like,
Like the
if you
biggest gap in the score?
yes, like Vegas. Oh, it says right there on the screen. Never mind. I didn't realize
Yeah,
it
I was
says
like,
right.
yeah, like if you want to give the Vegas spread, it's the Pats Chargers. But I mean, I think Vegas is playing this very conservatively because
Yeah.
I think the Texans are going to slap the Steelers. I do not think the Steelers are very good offensively,
Yeah.
and like,
I think the Patriots will slap the Chargers too.
yeah, I mean maybe so, but I just think that the Steelers are not good offensively. Like they've been playing decent defense and decent offense, not great at either. So when you're playing an elite, which I think the Texans probably have the best defense in football, when you're playing an elite defense you can't go out there with a mediocre offense and hope to compete. I just don't see that going well for the Steelers.
To answer your question, Mitchell, I think the biggest slap or the biggest spread will be the Texans beating the Steelers by at least 7+. So
Jeez.
the fact that Houston is favored by 3, I believe Houston. If you were to, if again, I'm not a gambling man, but if you were to tell me that Houston was favored by 6.5, I would take the over and say like Houston's winning by more than 6.5.
Yeah, so as a general rule, for those who don't know, generally speaking, the home team gets 3 points, like automatically, right? So the fact that the Steelers are the home team, so the line would start with them getting 3, and Vegas set the line at Houston giving 3, means that on a neutral field, Vegas has the Texans as a 6-point favorite.
And the only reason why I didn't pick the Patriots blowing out the Chargers is because I think the Chargers, if you're looking at if you're just looking at matchups, the Chargers, if they were to pick a first round team, they would have picked the Patriots as their first matchup, who they wanted to face first. So I actually do think the Chargers will be in contention throughout that game. I think that game will be a little more entertaining than people think it will be.
I mean, little difference of opinion. We'll see what happens. I mean, look, if next week we have Steelers, Bills, and Chargers advancing, it'll sure be interesting. We all look like fools, but anyway, let's move to the NFC.
One last comment is always ESPN, or not ESPN, the NFL always screws over the Texans in history. If you ever remember like the 2010s years, where anytime the Texans would make the postseason, they were always the first team to play. And generally, when the NFL schedules the first game, it's their lowest rated game out of all the games.
That's true.
So the first game this year is the Panthers-Rams, and who gets the last game? The Steelers and the Texans. So
I think it's going to be the closest.
is this the curse where the Texans finally get past the wild card weekend and win their game because they're not the first game?
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Also, yeah, it'd be interesting to see maybe like how much Rodgers or Allen drives the ratings. All right, let's move on to the NFC though.
Yeah, well, I mean, also the Steelers this year on Monday nights have been great. So like maybe that's why
They're trusting them. Yeah.
They're trusting the Steelers and Texans to be
Well, they want it to be a better game, right? All right, so now we'll move to the NFC finally. For the second year in a row, we had a Week 18 matchup featuring Sam Darnold, where the winner gets the 1 seed in the conference. The second year in a row. Now, the difference being, last year he did it on the Vikings, who did not make the playoffs this year, didn't come close. This year he did it on the Seahawks, who did not make the playoffs last year and didn't come close. So the common denominator there is Sam Darnold, which is ironic because he didn't actually have that good of a season personally. But yeah, Seahawks ended up being the 1 seed. That whole division is bonkers good. There are 3 of the 4 teams out of the division that made the playoffs. Sorry, Miles, the one that you're a fan of, the Cardinals, did not. But the other 3, I think,
they're terrible. They're terrible.
Hey, I'm a Raider fan, so I can't give anyone a hard time. We were the worst team in football this year. But yeah, so anyway, Seahawks earned the 1 seed by beating the Niners in Week 18. They will have the bye. Then the featured matchup, Panthers and Rams, and this one is very interesting to me. Panthers winning their division. Rams, again, did not because that division was great. The Rams are 10.5-point favorites, which is extreme considering a couple weeks ago the Panthers beat the Rams. Moving on, Eagles and Niners. Eagles have kind of been limping along. The Niners have been rolling. Eagles are 4.5-point favorites. And then Bears-Packers, even though the game is in Chicago, the Packers are still a 1.5-point favorite. So those are the teams that have made it in the NFC. You'll see a couple of teams from the NFC, NFC North, and then we got 1, 2, 3 from the West, and then one from the other 2 conferences. So, gentlemen, same questions. Who's your favorite? Who's a sleeper? And who looks around and says, I don't think I should be here?
I'll go first on this one, since you went first on the AFC. I think the favorite are the Eagles. I know how stacked the NFC West has been, and nothing against Seattle. Obviously, nothing against the Rams. I had the Rams winning the division, and they could have won that division easily, and they should be the number 1 team if they just had a couple of outcomes go their way throughout the season. I've always been a huge Sam Darnold fan, even when he was on the Jets. I just figured he just needed a better organization, and it just took 6-7 years for him to do that. So good on Sam Darnold. Yeah, exactly. 6, 7. Okay. So I can want to say congratulations to the rivals Seahawks for everything that you've done. They've had the most point differential. So even as bad Darnold's had, that team's offense has scored more than they've given up. So it's either a credit to how amazing their defense is or how amazing, how productive that offense is, even without a run game, because that run game has been more atrocious, in my opinion, than Sam Darnold has. So that shows you how effective Sam Darnold was at being clutch. So that's why I make it. But going back to why I picked the Eagles as the favorite, it just comes down to experience. That's what it comes down to me for the Eagles. I think they're going to beat the 49ers. I think the 49ers defense is overrated this year and it has been exposed. Uh, I feel like the Eagles match up very well against the 49ers in this. I don't see this game actually being closer than what people are going to be they think are going to be. As much as the 49ers has fought through injuries this year, I think the Eagles are going to smash through their first matchup. And then I do think that they're the favorite just based on experience. My sleeper pick, because they didn't finish as the 1 seed, is the Rams. I had the Rams at the beginning of the year going to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, winning their division. So they're the only correct ones I've made so far
Sorry,
on the
real quick.
NFC side.
Like when you say beginning of the year, do you mean like before the
Before
season?
week 1, I had out of the NFC, I had the Rams winning the NFC and going to the Super Bowl.
That's a bold take considering before week one, people didn't even know if Matthew Stafford was going to play football again. So well done
I'm
by you.
aware. I'm fully aware of his back situation, but the opportunity cost if he was healthy, which I believe he was going to, they were just playing it extremely safe and just download and like play it on the down low for so the media can overwear. People were like, "Oh, what about the Rams?" I didn't really see any issues because you have one of the best coaches in my lifetime in Sean McVay. He's has the track record. And again, if you look at a couple of their losses that they had this year, if those are wins, they're the number 1 seed and it's not even close. There is no like week 18 matchup between the Seahawks and the 49ers. So reality, I felt like the Rams had destination in their hands and they let go of some of those games. That was in their control. So to me, the easy and their defense is elite. And then when you have an elite quarterback with Stafford and you have an elite head coach, I will take the Rams over the Seahawks. I will take the Rams over the 49ers as much as I love Kyle Shanahan. I will take the Rams over the Bears, who have a great team and a great coach. I think the Rams are poised to make an upset over the Eagles in the NFC Championship game.
Well,
My note,
and to your point, Miles, all those games they lost down the stretch that cost them the division, they lost those games when Devontae Adams was out injured, and he's expected to be back.
exactly. And again, that defense is no joke. People want to talk about how offense prolific it is with Puka, Devontae Adams, the double dual running back system, that O line doesn't matter who's in there. Sean, like that defense has carried them in a lot of places. So I have full confidence in the Rams as a sleeper. And again, they're the only reason why they're not the favorites because they didn't finish the 1 seed. No chance is the easiest, obvious one is the Packers. The Packers have no chance against the Bears. I think that's going to be the biggest spread. Mitchell, to your question out of the NFC, who's going to be the biggest spread? I think the Bears are going to smack the Packers at 7+.
Over the
I
Panthers Rams.
over the Panthers Rams. I think the
Oh
Panthers
wow.
Rams will be closer, just because the Panthers defense is better than the Packers defense right now. The Panthers offense is better than the Packers offense right now, and I know it's hard to say with the Panthers offense, but the Packers are the weakest team coming into the NFC. And without that Dallas tie, they could have actually lost their playoff spot to the Vikings or whoever, whatever seed that was close enough in time. Like, so if that wasn't that Dallas tie, they've limped into the postseason. I like LaFleur. I think Love is a good quarterback. He needs to prove it on a bigger stage, but it's just too many injuries to overcome on that defense. And it's just, I'm not confident in that offense to get to outscore the Bears or outscore the Eagles or 49ers, or if they play the Rams or the Seahawks, that I just don't have confidence in their offense to keep up for their lack of defense right now.
Well, for me, this is pretty easy for me. This is the NFC showdown playoffs this year. I don't think any other team belongs to be there except for those three Seahawks, Niners, and Rams. I think if they were in different divisions, their dominance would have been shown more. Like, let's say they were in the Eagles division or whatever. Eagles might not be in the playoffs right now in that wild card spot. But saying that, Eagles with Landon Dickerson, if he's playing healthy, Carter, if he's playing healthy, and Blankenship, if he's playing healthy, I do like the Eagles as a sleeper. But for me personally, the Rams is my pick for sure. It comes and then there's what's the other one? The team that doesn't belong to be there for me is the Bears. I do not think the Bears should even like the Bears Packers, that division underachieved this year because Darnold left. The Vikings were lower. The Packers underachieved massively this year. And I think the Bears squeaked by, actually. Yeah, they're in the number two seed. I get it. They won a lot of games. But I have no confidence in when you have to go win one, two, 3 games in a row, that Bears defense, and Caleb 3 games in a row. I don't know if I could trust them 3 games in a row and that defense. And then the other issue that I have going back to the Eagles real quick is just their play calling. If they had Kellen Moore still, I'd absolutely pick the Eagles. But since they don't, I can't trust their offense for 3 straight games either. So that's my issue. Why it comes back down to that, just the NFC division. Um, if I had to ask you guys, Seattle is interesting. Again, Seattle's very interesting. I don't know how to dissect Seattle. Their defense is so significantly better. You guys are raving on the Texans D, and like that could carry them as all the way to the Super Bowl or whatever. Like this Seahawks D alone could carry them to the Super Bowl regardless of Darnold. The Vikings D had a great D last year and a great D, and an average D this year, but I don't know if Darnold on the Vikings, that defense was the same as the Seahawks defense, if you get what I'm saying. So I don't even know if Darnold even has to play all that well for them to be in a Super Bowl. So, I mean, you would assume when they go up against the Rams in the next round or whatever that he'll have to have at least a semi good game. But then again, they just played the Niners and won 13-3. So, I don't know. This NFC one is fun for me. I don't think the Bears and the Packers have a chance with the other teams in there, and the Panthers, sorry. So, I think the Eagles are the only ones that can compete in there. I have a question for you guys. If I had to, as far as Miles picking the Eagles was interesting to me because I did put a $10 bet on Jalen Hurts
Oh, here we
winning
go,
Super Bowl.
gambling Mitch again. I want to apologize to all the people that listen out there. Mitch has become a bit of a gambling addict. We're gonna have to
No,
have him
I,
mentioned here soon. But go ahead, Mitch.
re-
What's your
really
ridiculous
have.
parlay this time?
No, I just put $10 on Hurts being Super Bowl MVP at plus 2,000. So I'm asking you guys right now, what would your be one if you were having fun? Well, let me just start off by saying, what do you think has the best Super Bowl MVP odds right now? Who
Well,
is
do you mind if
Vegas?
I answer the original question first, and then we'll
Sure. Yeah,
get
of
to your
course.
question? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so as far as the Super Bowl favorite, sleeper, etc. It's hard to pick someone who's limping into the playoffs instead of winning their way into the playoffs. But I still think that the Rams are the favorite to come out of this. I think with Devontae Adams back, they're going to find a way to put it together. They also have the experience with the quarterback and the coach that have been there before. So I'm going to take the Rams as my favorite. My sleeper is the Niners. Week 18, they did not play well, which obviously was unfortunate for them. But up until that week, they look like rock stars, and they have one of the best offensive play callers in football. So now that he has seen the Seahawks defense as recently as he has, I think he'll come up with a way to deal with them when he plays them later on in the playoffs. And the team that has no business being there, I mean, you can pick both the Bears and the Packers, honestly, but especially the Bears. You guys know I'm not a big Caleb fan, which we'll talk about later. But also, just they limped into the playoffs. They're on a losing streak right now, and like Mitch said, in order to make the Super Bowl, you got to win 3-4 games in a row, and you're on a losing streak. So why would I think that you're going to win 3 games in a row against the top teams in your conference when you're on a losing streak against random teams from your conference, including the Packers?
So
So
you both think the Packers are going to beat the Bears in the first round?
I actually do.
Interesting.
yeah, I mean,
Very
I just,
assuming Jordan Love plays, which all reports say he's going to, then yes. I mean, the Bears are 2-2 against the Packers this year, and I mean, as you can see, the Vegas has the Packers as a favorite when the Bears are a home team. So
Packers have one of the
I
best
think
rosters.
I really do think Vegas kind of did that in the sort just because of fan base. Like obviously the Bears are going to be
no,
gambling
I
odds
definitely agree
to
with that,
them, but
Miles. I think
yeah,
that's
but
a good take. I do think Vegas maybe cooked the books a little bit on that line, expecting bets on the Packers. That being said, I just when you watch the Bears play football, you just like they're not good. And so if they play against anyone who's even remotely decent, I'm not a big believer in them. And so yeah, the Packers haven't been great or anything down the stretch. In fact, quite the opposite. But at the end of the day, they finally have a healthy quarterback and a healthy running back, something they haven't had for weeks. assuming both Love and Jacobs are healthy and play, which all reports say they are, I think that gives the Packers a very strong chance to compete against this Bears team that I don't think is all that great. Mainly because of the
Also,
quarterback.
yeah. No, I agree with everything you're saying. I think that somehow they lucked into playing each other in the first round. If they were playing other teams, they would both be out, in my opinion. So it's not that I'm picking the Packers, Miles, that are much better than the Bears. It's just they're playing each other, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
Mitch and I both picked both of those teams that to not be there.
Yeah, they don't belong.
So.
They don't belong, and they're
I
lucky
think,
one of the team's gonna
I
advance.
think the funniest answer is that none of us picked the Panthers.
I don't think the Pan.
I mean,
I
look,
said this in the
I
group
talked
chat.
about the fact that the Panthers did just beat the Rams, and I will say my bold prediction at the start of the season was the Panthers would win their division and make the playoffs, and everyone thought it was too bold. Well, it wasn't. They won their division, they made the playoffs, but I did not pick them to win a playoff game, and certainly not against the Rams, who they just beat by one score in a game without Devontae Adams. Well, this game has Devontae Adams.
So I can't remember who it was or whatever, just one of the people I follow on social media or everything. He posted the thing today that the Panthers had a better statistical odds of winning the Super Bowl before the season started than they're giving them right now. Think about that.
That's crazy.
Samantha's claiming credit for that one, but
All right, we'll
I
give
don't
Samantha
remember where I
credit.
got it from.
Well, we know it wasn't you that came up with it, so I'll give Samantha the credit. That's fine with me. All right,
Okay.
Mitch. So now you had a question you wanted to ask about. I
Yeah.
believe your question was. You can go ahead and restate it if you want to.
I was having fun earlier with it. I put $10 on plus 2,000 for Jalen Hurts to be Super Bowl MVP, right? Those are just amazing odds. I couldn't really, you know what I mean? It's just $10. So, who do you think Vegas is giving best odds to win Super Bowl MVP as of right now?
Okay, so just to clarify, you're not asking us who we would pick. You're asking who do
Oh,
we
both. You
think
can do
Vegas
both.
has.
Who do you think Vegas has, and who would you pick?
Okay, sure.
That's
Miles, you want to go first, and I'll go second, or you want me to go first?
You go first this time.
All right. So first, I'm going to say who I think that Vegas is giving the best odds to win Super Bowl MVP. I'm going to say, I don't know how much I like this pick, but I'm going to say Drake May. And as far as who I would give the best, who I think is most likely to win Super Bowl MVP, I'm going to say it's either Stafford or Lawrence, and it's so hard for me to believe in Lawrence and the Jags. So for that reason, I'm going to say Stafford, but I'm not in love with my pick. But that's what I'm taking.
Okay, so to answer your question, Mitch, for both of them, obviously for MVP, it's predominantly gone to a quarterback. It's very rare that it hasn't gone to a quarterback. So I'll stick with the quarterback. So
As you should.
who I
As you
think
should, looking at this list.
the Vegas has the number one odds, I'm going to put Bo Nix as number one, who I think Vegas is putting it on. I'm probably
Okay.
way off on that. But who I think will be, if it gets there, it's either going to be Josh Allen or Matthew Stafford. So I
Okay.
will lean towards Josh Allen.
So Alex picked the fifth best that Vegas, this is what Vegas thinks. Drake May is fifth best odds to win Super Bowl. Bo Nix is third best odds to win the Super Bowl. Then you both thought Stafford would win it. He is second best odds to win Super Bowl. Josh Allen is fourth. So we haven't named the number one guy who they think is the Super Bowl winner. And Jackson Smith-Njigba is the first non-QB and pretty much the only on this list besides Puka Nacua and Kenneth Walker. Those three are the only ones on this list that are non-QB. Barkley's at like plus 8,000, so he's like just outside the list of the top 20.
Interesting.
So
If you were to ask me a non-QB, I would have picked Puka, but yeah, interesting.
Puka's plus 3,500, and then he's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12th. He's 12th. And Jigba is 8. The number one odds to that they think will win Super Bowl MVP is Sam Darnold.
Okay, I was gonna say if you pick Caleb Williams, we're done with ESPN
No,
and
the only reason I picked Jalen Hurts is because at plus 2,000, I don't think you're ever going to see those odds again. Like Stafford's plus 650, Nix is plus 800, Allen's plus 800. Like these are plus
yeah.
2,000.
I want to ask you
fun
this.
to bet
So if
on.
you're looking
Yeah.
at that, what are the odds on Trevor Lawrence? Because like if the
Oh,
Jags
sorry.
win,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's seventh at plus 1,500.
okay,
That's
so
not
it's
bad,
actually
actually.
better than yeah. So I was hoping his would be better because like no one believes in him, including me. I don't believe in him, but
Vegas believes in
Jaguars,
him more than Hurts.
the
Or
Jaguars are
Eagles.
yeah. That's well because the Eagles look. Look,
Terrible.
if you take the name away, like if you take away the name Jaguars and you take away the name Eagles and you just look at like the stats and how the teams are performing, you would say that the team that starts with a J is way better than the team that starts with the E and has better odds than the Super Bowl.
For sure.
But we don't make that decision with our minds. With our minds, we're like, oh, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're not a good football team. They screw up, blah, blah, blah. In fact, let me give you guys some stats. Because a lot has changed over the course of the season. And this actually, there's a lot of playoff teams in here, a couple non-playoff teams, but a lot of playoff teams in this list. So we'll start with a team like the Bears. I'm actually going to give them some flowers for once. They started the year 4-3. Since then, they've gone 7-3 over the last 10 weeks. So the last 10 weeks, they've been much better. Now, the concern is they're actually 0-2 in the last 2 weeks. So, but they had a nice 7-1 run there. The team that's turned around the most, the Texans, I mentioned this earlier, they started the year 3-4. They finished 12-5, meaning they went 9-1 over the last 10 weeks of the season. Same thing for the Jaguars. They started 4-3, which is fine, mediocre, but they finished 13-4. They went 9-1 over their last 10 weeks of the season. So the Jags and the Texans are the teams that are the hottest right now. Teams who kind of went the other way that are in the playoffs would be the Packers. They started 5-1-1. They finished 9-7-1. So they started out great, and then over the last few weeks of the season, they went 4-3, which is just mid. They squeaked in because of that draw. A team that didn't squeak in was the Lions. They started 5-2, finished 9-8. So they went 4-6 the last 10 weeks of the season, and because they didn't have the draw, they're out. So you can see, the teams that are in the playoffs coming in hot are looking different than teams in the playoffs coming in cold. And then now we have some epic collapses from teams that did not make the playoffs. The Chiefs started 5-3, which is fine. They finished 6-11. The Chiefs ended this season going 1-8. Talk about a rough go for a team that's been to the Super Bowl multiple years running. Same thing for the Bucs. They started 6-2. There was talk of Baker being MVP. They were going to win the division. It was a lock. They finished the year 2-7 from that point on, going 8-9 overall. So talk about a collapse down the stretch. And the biggest collapse of all, the one that's got to hurt if you're a fan of the Colts. They started 7-1. They went all in. Talked about how they're going to pay Danny Dimes. They traded away 2 first-round draft picks for a corner. They were committed. They then went 1-8 in their last 9 games, missing the playoffs. And so it pays to get hot at the right time. Not as much as it does in baseball. Like I get that football's still more about complete team than baseball, where if you're just hot at the right time, you can go on a run. But I still feel like teams like the Jaguars and Texans, who are really hot right now, have much better chances than the teams that are kind of limping out of the playoffs.
Let me ask you guys both a question, and I agree with you what you said, Alex, for sure. Uh, Especially like how you're playing now has a massive indicator when you're like, as opposed to like winning early in the season. I completely agree with all that. Let me ask you guys a question though. If you had to pick out of both conferences, let's take out the Panthers, right? Because it's fairly obvious. Who are the bottom 4 teams? Like, who do you think Vegas thinks has the lowest 4th odds, or technically the highest odds or whatever, to win the Super Bowl? So like the bottom 4 ranked teams. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Not really. You're talking about the four teams with the worst odds to win from
Correct. So who does
each
Vegas
conference
think
or overall, including both
just overall?
conferences?
So the Panthers are at plus 20,000. That's like the most
they're the
ridiculous
worst.
odd. Yeah, and it's not even close in the last
Okay,
decade. I've never
let's
seen something like that.
let's
Alex.
let's
I've never
gamify
seen
this.
something like
So
that.
so Miles just guess one team, and then I'll guess one team, and we'll see who gets
There
it
you
wrong
go.
first. So Miles,
So
you get
who's
one
the
guess.
second worst?
Okay, it's
Well,
clearly
then
not the
just anyone who's in the bottom 4 counts. Like we don't have to get it
Okay. Oh
perfect.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So who's in the bottom 4? Sorry.
so clearly it's not either the 1 seeds. I say
Solid logic there. Can't argue with
Yeah.
that.
I was gonna say, God,
I'm gonna have to go with the Chargers.
would Bing Bing Bing? They are third bottom.
Okay, that was gonna be my pick, but since you took the Chargers, I mean, I don't want to take the low-hanging fruit and go the Pack, but also Vegas loves the Bears a lot more than I do. I'm going to say the Steelers.
Bingo. That's the second worst, after the Panthers or whatever. So it goes Panthers, Steelers, Chargers. You guys have the bottom 3 so far, but the next 2, because I took the Panthers out. So
Right.
who are the next 2?
Oh, I mean, I guess the low-hanging fruit is the Packers, in my opinion, so I'll go with the Packers.
Uh,
No, I was going to say they're predicted to win. Give me the Bears.
The Bears. Bing, 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 bing. You
Yes.
need. Okay, Miles, time to tie this up. Who is the last one in the bottom four that we're missing here? Miles. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I
I didn't know if
guess
you DC'd or not.
I'm thinking between either the 49ers or Jags just because of who's favored or not, but I guess I'll go with the 49ers.
Alex,
Yeah, I was also going to pick the 49ers.
winner, winner, winner. So my point of this though is the Bears are a two seed and they're in the bottom four. I don't understand how the Bears squeaked into this two seed. The Packers, Jags, Texans, Bills, Eagles all have better odds than the Bears. That's how Vegas thinks of the
It's
Bears.
because the Bears' second half teams, when they come out in the first half, awful. They came out in the second half, and you look at the last 7 weeks, even that the last 2 weeks that they've lost, they've showed up. So it's probably along those lines. They don't play a full, complete game.
On the flip side, you've got Seahawks one, Rams two, Broncos three, Patriots four. So the two seed on the other is getting a lot of respect. The two seed in the NFC, not so much respect
Well, I mean, the two seed in the AFC is top two in odds to win the MVP of the league.
as
The
well.
two seed in the NFC is Caleb Williams, who I just happen to know Caleb Williams' stats. Did you guys know that he attempted more passes last year than this year? Or excuse me, I take that back. He attempted more passes this year than last year, but had less completions. That's right. His completion percentage went down after his rookie year. Now, he did increase in yards and touchdowns, and that's great. He also had an extra interception in there. He also had more fumbles this year than he did last year. So basically, he didn't do as good of a job as protecting the ball. He didn't complete as many percentage of his passes. And yeah, his QBR went up, but it went up to put him at 58.3, which puts him at number 16. So just barely in the top half of the league when you consider there's 32 starting NFL quarterbacks, and he squeaked in there at number 16. So he is the definition of mid. So look, was I too harsh on him? Was he as much of a trash can fire as I said he was? No, I guess
Yeah.
not. He was supremely mid. He wasn't awful. He was just supremely mid. And that's not what you need. And in fact, if we think that Ben Johnson had something to do with it, maybe he wouldn't even reach mid status if he had a different guy calling the plays out there. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But
No, Alex, you're right. Ben Johnson has changed that completely because if you look at teams with the elite running games, the Bears is right up there, in my opinion. Like the
well, yeah,
Bears,
and look at what happened to the team he left, right?
yep.
Oh, for sure.
So the team he left was 15-2 last season. This season they were 9-8 and missed the playoffs.
They did have the Lions did have a much harder schedule this year. To be fair to the
No,
Lions,
they did. They
and
also
they
lost their
also
defensive coordinator. I understand, and their center. Like,
also injuries too. They got hurt a
well, I
lot
mean,
more.
last year they had injuries coming out the wazoo. I mean, look, there were definitely other factors, but the point being,
The Lions
the
injuries
team
came
he
right in the
left went
postseason
from
after.
the best offense in football, 15-2, to 9-8. In fact, before anyone tries to bash the Lions, actually offensively still weren't that bad. Jared Goff is now the fourth quarterback in history to throw for 4,500 yards and 30 TDs in 3 straight years, joining Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes. That's a hell of a list. He also has 23 straight games of the passing TD. So, yeah, in DoD, we all missed the boat. Now, I had him rated, I think it was like QB7 on my big board, which I had Baker higher, which obviously did not work out for me. But man, I sure wish I didn't because he finished as QB number 4, and he was the 13th quarterback taken. Austin took him as a backup, which he ended up with Drake May, so makes sense. But yeah, I definitely wish that I had believed in him more than I believed in Baker. But yeah, the Rams' offense was still good, but clearly not good enough because they dropped massively in ranking. So if Ben Johnson has something to do with it, then you have to take something away from Caleb. And when you're taking something away from a quarterback that was just mid, there's not really anywhere to go but, crappy. Just saying.
I wouldn't be too hard on the Baker pick. I think secretly he was playing through injuries that he didn't want to come out and say. But that's
Oh,
just
he was, and he also he was missing Mike Evans and Godwin and Irving for most of the year. Like when you're missing your wide receiver 1, your wide receiver 2, and your running back 1 for most of the year, and he lost a couple of awesome offensive linemen there too. So like I'm not playing. Baker still finishes QB 12, by the way. Like he still finished fine, right? So like
yeah.
I don't know, but the point that I'm making though is just that Jared Goff is a guy who finishes QB4. He balled out for the Lions this year, but they still were not as good. I mean, in fact, they were so not as good offensively that they fired their offensive coordinator. So Ben Johnson left some huge shoes to fill. So if you assume that he had something to do with Caleb's success, and I think we all kind of do, then we have to really take a hard look at this. It's like, okay, so you have this great coordinator who makes players better, and you're still just supremely medium. He did set the Bears record for passing yards in a season, which, I mean, not a high bar, but still. Still
Yeah,
sub 4,000. They still never had a 4,000 yard pass.
That's wild. I was looking at going back to the other, which player has the best odds right now to win an Super Bowl MVP. Caleb's is lower on the list than Jackson Smith and Jigba and Kenneth Walker. Just FYI. And Puka Nacua.
I'm sorry. Caleb Williams has lower MVP odds than Kenneth Walker, the running back for the Seahawks.
They're plus 3,000 and plus 4,000, yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's bad.
Jigba's plus 2,500.
I mean, that makes sense, but Kenneth Walker, that run game, both Walker and Charbonnet have been so inconsistent.
No, Walker and Charbonnet both have better odds to win Super Bowl MVP than like Cortland Sutton and Barkley and RJ Harvey and anyone does.
Yeah,
Because
that's insane to me.
Vegas probably thinks Seattle's going to win it. And if Darnold has a bad game or whatever, they might give it to Walker. So
yeah,
I guess.
And you don't know which one of those guys is going to pop off, right? Like
Exactly.
Walker could
So
have
they have
150
Walker
rushing yards,
and
or
Charbonnet.
Charbonnet could have 80 with
Yeah.
3 touchdowns. Like either one of those could happen.
They're much higher than all the other. It's like they're Brock Purdy has, it's like those guys. So it's basically based on, I guess, who they think is going to make it to the Super Bowl. And
It's simple, right? It's like, okay, if the Niners were to make it to the Super Bowl, what would be the reason? The reason is Brock Purdy. Their defense is not as good as it used to be. Their running game is not as good as it used to be. Again, CMC had an amazing season, but not because of his ability to run the ball. His yards per carry were way down. At wide receiver, they've got nothing.
Right.
Their wide receivers are injured and mediocre at best. I mean, they have a great tight end in Kittle, but yeah. So if the Niners were to make it to the Super Bowl and win, it would be because Brock Purdy had balled out like he did in Week 16 and 17. If you started Brock Purdy in the fantasy playoffs, you probably won your Super Bowl. Now, if you started him all year, you didn't because he missed a lot of games with injury and whatnot. But if you started him Week 16, Week 17, he dropped a 40-burger in back-to-back weeks. And that's like, I think Vegas is saying, in a world where the Niners get there and win, it's going to be because Brock Purdy drops a 40-burger. And they're also saying there is no world where the Bears get there and win. So that's
exactly
that's why
that's what
Caleb
it's basically saying. Yeah. I mean, they're not wrong about a lot of things, but you're just reading, the numbers exactly.
All right, boys. Let's move on and talk about something else then. My voice is starting to give out, so I do apologize, but I will fight on as long as we can here. So we talked about the DoD Championship, talked about the NFL playoff picture. Let's talk about some of the offseason stuff. I want to talk about player stats first, and then we'll talk about coaching stuff. So, real quick, did you guys see the comments that Justin Jefferson made when asked if he wanted to have J.J. McCarthy come back as his quarterback next year?
I actually didn't know that.
So, a reporter asked Justin Jefferson, wide receiver for the Vikings, if he wanted J.J. McCarthy to be back next year as his quarterback. He started with a very PC answer of like, "Oh yeah, he's great. He's like, it's not my decision to make, but if it was, I would certainly have him out there." But like, you could kind of tell he was hesitant. And then he basically goes, "We just need to get him to work on this stuff that kind of cost us some games down the stretch." But it started off PC, and then like it slowly started to nosedive into like clearly he does not like this guy. And just for some stats on that, McCarthy only played 10 games this year. In 9 of those 10 games, he had less than 16.5 completions. And in the last game of the year, he left the game hurt again. So, like, he only played in 10 games. He left and hurt in 2 of those games. So he only completed 8 games this season. And in 7 of those 8 games, he had less than 16.5 completions by average. Like, that's just not good for an NFL quarterback that has targets like Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. I mean, the fact that Thielen who knows it's his last year and wanted to retire as a Viking, straight up said, "Hey, trade me so I can be with a contender," and got traded to the Steelers of all teams. Like, he thought that was a better chance. That tells you all you really need to know about JJ McCarthy. So my question to you guys is, do you think there's a world where McCarthy is the starter next year, or are the Vikings moving on?
They're moving on. 100%.
I think this is going to come down to whatever Kevin O'Connell, KOC, says to the GM. I forget his name, not Barry, but the other guy.
Which he's going to tell him, we need to move on.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
is
so
there a
if he
world
says
where,
that-
is there a world where you think KOC goes in and says, "I love this guy, I want to keep him"?
Okay, then they're moving on.
No, they're moving on.
Okay.
And you could see what's his name from the Niners going there.
Yeah, I was either going to say Kyler Murray or Mac Jones are going to the Vikings.
Oh, I didn't even
I-
consider Kyler.
I've
Wow.
got Mac Jones in a dynasty league, and I am licking my chops hoping that he goes to the Vikings, man. Let me tell you, because that would be.
You had 2 years of sample size, and you obviously have a head coach who's a quarterback whisperer, and they let go of Darnold. And I was looking at that, I'm like, as much as I was a JJ fan before entering the season, I was just like, this guy has been proven in this last year, and for you, he's brought, like, I understand the last couple games, like, you're
I didn't
asking
wanna
for the
be
big
big.
moment games, but I guess they just didn't want to pay him. They wanted to pay their
Yeah.
defense.
They
So
don't
it
wanna
was
be
like, I
big.
understand from us. That's why I hate the salary cap for this reason, or you shouldn't have a salary cap account against you for quarterbacks. Everything else should be, whatever. That decision costed the Vikings this year, and if they want to make it back to the postseason, they need to have.
Which makes me wonder rewind a year ago when Kevin O'Connell's in that meeting with the GM, did he say, "I don't need Darnold, I've got McCarthy"? Because then that would probably change how I think he's going to say this year, "Hey, I can still," you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting to me, was he always just like, "Hey, no, sign Darnold," and then the GM was just like, "No, the owner doesn't want to pay him that much," and then Kevin O'Connell was just like, "Okay, well, I'll just deal with McCarthy then," or you know what I mean? Was it?
I
I
mean,
want to know that conversation.
we'll never know for sure, but I think it's a matter
For
of
sure.
fighting, knowing when to fight your battles and knowing when to step aside. And the situation was they spent a top 10 draft pick on a quarterback.
Yeah.
You can't. The GM loses his job if he re-signs Darnold last year. So
That's true.
as much as the Vikings would have been better had they re-signed Darnold, as much as O'Connell may have wanted to keep Darnold, as much as the team might have wanted to keep Darnold, there was just no world where that was happening. So if you are O'Connell, what are you gonna say? Like, there's no amount of kicking and screaming you could have done. Now, I'm not saying he did that. You're right. He might have said, "No, I've got McCarthy, will be fine." I don't think he said that. But what I'm saying is, I don't think he bothered to argue either way because you can't win
Gotcha.
that argument. If you go and you give a multi-year deal to Darnold after spending a top 10 draft pick on McCarthy, you're losing your job because you just wasted a top 10 draft pick. So you have to start that guy out. But now it's a different scenario because, like, you ran that guy out. He clearly isn't the guy. You were better off with literally Carson Wentz's washed ass out there playing quarterback.
For sure.
They literally did not tell us about an injury that he had and was playing through the entire time before he
Yeah.
finally had to have surgery. It's like, that's how
Back to
much they
surgery.
didn't want McCarthy out there. There is no way that
Agreed.
they don't move on from him. The question is, how do they move on from him? And I think someone like a Mac Jones is the right option because it puts them in the same scenario that they had originally of, hey, we're gonna get a guy at a discounted rate for a short-term deal, and if he does work out, then we'll look at re-signing him. But at least we'll have one more year window of trying to compete for a championship with a quarterback on a cheaper deal. Because as we've talked about, quarterbacks on rookie deals or at least cheaper one-year deals give you a better chance to win as a football team than once you're paying. Like, look at the teams we talked about being potential favorites, like the Texans. Well, they got CJ Stroud on a rookie deal right now, right? Those are the teams that we think
Look
have
at the
the best
Seahawks
chances.
with Russell Wilson. That was the defining factor.
Yeah.
Like, Russell Wilson was on that rookie deal, and they had the most elite defense. So I think the Vikings was trying to take a page book out of that. It's like, we have a good enough defense. If JJ is competent like he was in college, he didn't throw a lot, but he was competent. If he could just perform and not turn the ball over, but he didn't do any of that. So I would be shocked if the Vikings don't do anything trying to move up in the draft. Supposedly this is not a strong QB draft class this year, but
I don't think they can build. I don't think they can get a QB in the draft. They got to win now. They got to win this year. Last year.
so
That was their time.
that's my point. I think they're going to make a drastic move in the draft to try to get some sort of assets or some sort of solidification of getting a starting NFL QB.
I'm not even joking. If they go get Jameis and let him play for a year, that's
Oh,
that's my new team.
yeah, yeah, seriously,
Jameis
I mean,
and
that's what
JJ.
we as fans want, but that's just not like I. As much as the fans want Jameis, it's never going to happen again.
It's
He's
never
always
gonna
going to be a
happen. But yeah,
backup from
I'm
now
saying
on.
they need a year of a QB like that, or like a Mac Jones or something, before they go draft another one and start him over McCarthy.
All right,
Um,
go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, and also if whatever JJ is saying behind closed doors, the kid and the man, you gotta do that. I mean, not trying to transition it to Harbaugh or anything, but apparently if Lamar's, saying behind closed doors, I don't want this coach, you know what I mean? I can only imagine the sway JJ has on in the Minnesota.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, for those who are interested, go and watch that interview where he's asked that question, and you can very clearly see he's trying to give a PC answer, and the longer
Yeah.
he talks, the less and less PC he gets because like
For sure.
the realness starts to come out. Um, anyway, look, the only way we can make JJ McCarthy look better is talk about the one team that's worse than him, and that's the Jets. Now, one of the stats that everyone knows that was kind of a huge deal was the Jets did not have an interception this year. It is the first year, or the first time ever, a team has gone without an interception since that stat was recorded 100 years ago. Not really 100, but nearly 100 years ago. So it's been a minute. So for a team to have zero turnovers is wild. They only have, I think, three defensive turnovers the entire season. Um, One of the guys they traded to Dallas, defensive lineman, had an interception. So if they kept him, maybe they would have had one. But not only that, here are their team leaders in offensive stats. So who do you guys think was the team leader in passing yards?
Fields?
Miles, you got a guess?
Uh, no, that team. I'm gonna say Tyrod Taylor.
It was Fields. He threw for 1,259 yards.
Oh my
The
gosh.
team leader for the Jets threw for 1,200 yards. All right, the next one's gonna be a lot easier. Who led the team in rushing?
Brees Hall.
Mitch.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's Brees Hall because of the early games of
Yeah,
the season.
yeah. Brees Hall. That's the only one that's respectable. 1,065 yards.
Dang, that's even pretty good. Now
Yeah,
imagine, remember going back at the beginning of the podcast and I had to, who did Vinny had Garrett Jones and who was I taking? I can't remember. And like, imagine telling someone at the beginning of the season, like, hey Vinny, the guy that you're gonna bet on, Garrett Jones, the QB's only gonna throw for 1,200 yards this year.
yeah. Well, and that brings me to my final
You mean
question.
Garrett
This
Wilson?
this is the tricky one.
Sorry, what did I say?
Who
Garrett Jones, Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
who led the Jets in receiving yards?
Oh gosh, is it Hawkinson or is it? No, it's Jordan Mason.
No, Jordan Mason's Vikings.
Wait, wait.
So was Hawkinson. Yeah, we're
That was
talking Jets here.
Hawkinson,
You
bro.
keep guessing Vikes.
I'm gonna go with It's not Mason Taylor. I'm gonna say either Tyler Johnson
Oh wait, I guess
or
Vikings. I have my
or
apologies. Yeah. It's got to
yeah.
be Garrett Jones from the first 5 games then. I mean, Garrett Wilson. I keep messing this up.
There's no Garrett Jones.
It's got to
I'm
be
gonna
Garrett Wilson from 3 games in total, right?
Miles, you got a guess?
I'm gonna go with Tyler Johnson.
Is it Adonai
It
Mitchell or
was
whatever?
Garrett Wilson
You knew it.
with 395 yards.
Oh
He
my
only
gosh.
played in 7 games this year, and he did not finish all of them.
Yeah,
And he led the Jets in receiving.
yeah. It's not
That is
bad.
how
How
inept
much?
the Jets were on both sides of the ball, which is just crazy. Does anyone have any other player stats they want to discuss before we get into all the coaching changes? Okay,
No.
that sounds like a no. So now we're going to discuss coaching fires as well as coaches that didn't get fired, which is kind of like a question mark to us. So we'll start with the Jets. The Jets brought in a defensive coordinator to be their head coach, and not only were they terrible on offense, as you just heard, they were also terrible on defense, as we mentioned by the not having interceptions. They also traded away their two best defensive players. So what do you guys think of the Jets keeping their head coach? I mean, I know you only had 1 year so far, and they are the Jets, but like, I don't know.
I
It's not
I
a great resume
unfortunately
builder.
I unfortunately watched a lot of Jets games because in another league, in a fantasy league, I played in an IDP league, where you draft into individual defensive players. And Jermaine Sherwood on the Jets linebacker was one of my key players because that defense was always on the field, and he
Until
was
you
a
said
key.
IDP league, Miles, I was like, why are you in a fantasy league where you have Jets players? Now I
Yeah,
understand.
but yeah, you mean like Jets having Jets? You want teams, you want the best linebackers on the worst teams, and the Jets, Jermaine Sherwood, thank you, you were that player for me this year, because the defense always on, but the best player is always going to be making the tackles and the turnovers. They only only had 3 turnovers, and one of them was Jermaine Sherwood. So thank you for that. To answer your question though about the head coach, I actually thought the Jets, as awful they were, played for him. Um, and there's a key sign of, if if the GM and the owners like, hey, we gotta get, like, for instance, the Falcons, Raheem Morrison, they were not playing for him. They could have won that division if they had more competent in-house and management, but they don't. And you could tell the players weren't really playing for them. They were just playing for themselves and trying to pad up stats. When I watched those Jets games, they were playing for Aaron Glenn. Like, they were playing for him. They
The
were playing
thing,
for the win. They were playing for the wins. As awful they were going out playing for him. In terms of penalties, they weren't the most penalized team. So that's another key indicator of poor coaching of teams who are heavily penalized. It's mostly on the head coach. They were not one of those teams. They were just blown out because of talent. Their offense is abysmal, and they only had Breece Hall, and they didn't even trade him because the Chiefs wouldn't give up a third-round pick. They would give up a fourth-round pick. But Breece Hall was going to get traded, but didn't get traded. So their only valuable asset, Garrett Wilson, they signed to a long-term deal because they believe in him as a wide receiver one. They didn't really address their O-line. Their defense wasn't bad. Again, they were just,
their defense is terrible. So this is Miles.
yeah,
Miles. This is way more of an indictment on the Jets than it is Anthony Glenn or whatever his name is.
Aaron Glenn.
Like
Yeah,
Aaron Glenn. Thank you. The issue becomes when you have 6 or 7 job openings right now in the
6-7.
NFL.
It's becoming a theme, boys.
Oh gosh, I did not
6-7.
even mean to do that. They like you're gonna become the eighth best hire. So it's not even that you're gonna get the eighth hypothetically or whatever, the eighth best available player or person. And it's like maybe you just keep Glenn for another year because you don't want to be in a carousel where there's 8 openings right now, whereas next year there might only be 4 or 5 openings, or you can at least find a replacement as opposed to getting like eighth in line. So it's like I think it's more of an indictment that the Jets are so bad. Who are you going to get? Like who are you going to replace it with? Even if you're the last pick and you go and ask someone, a lot of people will turn down this job right now because it's basically destined to fail. The only thing I will say that they have going good for them, and this is a Jets franchise that looks to be some of the worst I've seen in decades out of any franchise, and we've seen some bad Raiders teams. Am I right, Alex? They do
You're
get
not wrong.
they do get 4 picks in the top 38 because they had the number 2 overall pick because they suck. They get the number 16 pick from the Sauce Gardner trade, and then they get the 33 from the Q Williams trade or whatever. So they do have, and then their own pick again in early second round. So they have 4 picks in the top 38. That's actually pretty impressive and hard to accomplish. So this is now assuming that the Jets GM is going to actually pick the right players. That is also a very shaky thing to trust. So I no, this is I think this is just an indictment of the Jets, and they're probably counting their lucky stars that like, oh my gosh, thankfully Glenn just didn't want to leave us.
yeah, I completely agree with Mitchell. Like, Aaron
So
Glenn could have been like, yeah, I'm out, but I think Aaron Glenn
no, he
in
would
his
never
position,
leave. I'm just
yeah,
saying they should be lucky that they actually have someone
yeah.
like Glenn who was a wanted hire the year before.
And he chose the Jets. Like,
Yeah,
I
he
think
did.
Aaron Glenn wanted that challenge too when he got in. I think he was what, the second hired coach or the third hired coach last year? If correct me if I'm
So
wrong,
if that's
Mitchell.
always the case when you go through mid-season and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to trade this player away, we're going to trade this player away," I think at that moment you've already committed to the head coach.
Yeah, let
So
me go ahead
I
and
mean,
give
this
some
is
life advice to anyone listening to this podcast. The best life advice I can ever give you is don't take the challenge of being with the Jets. Just it's not worth it. Just go literally anywhere else.
yeah,
Anywhere.
exactly. Or
Wait a minute,
wait,
would you rather be the Cardinals, Browns, or Jets? Like, that's like,
The Browns have been to the playoffs in 2 of the last 5 seasons.
and
The
they got rid of, and that franchise is an abysmal
No,
joke.
it is. The Cardinals at least play in a nice area. The Jets are in the cold, an expensive area to live.
The
They lie
Cardinals
about
played one
being
of
in
the
New
most
York when they're
difficult.
really in New Jersey, and they just suck out loud. I think it might be worth talking about all the open head coaching positions, and then we can kind of discuss. Uh,
Sorry for that.
well, who do any of these guys do you think they didn't deserve to be fired? And then which job do you think is the most appealing opening? So here are the coaches that were fired this season. You have the Titans, who fired Brian Callahan back in the middle of the year after they lost 5 of their first 6. The Giants fired Brian Daboll when he lost 8 of their first 10, but we discussed in this pod, I think it's because of the injury to Jackson Dart. The Falcons surprisingly fired Raheem Morris after going 8-9. tied for the lead of the division, but lost the tiebreaker. And then Kevin Stefanski, we just talked about. He was an AP Coach of the Year twice, got to the Browns to the playoffs twice. Won his last 2 games, but it wasn't enough to keep his job. And then the Raiders, Pete Carroll, one and done for the Raiders. That didn't go well. That's my team. And the Cardinals, hey, Miles, here's your team on the list. Jonathan Gannon. Yep, they let him go. And then lastly, the most surprising one, John Harbaugh of the Ravens. After 18 seasons, it's kind of like, it's hard to think of the Ravens without John Harbaugh, but that's the case. He's gone now. So of those jobs, 2 questions. 1, do you think any of those guys should not have been fired? And 2, which of those jobs do you think is the best job opening and which is the worst?
Okay, so this is okay.
Sorry.
Well,
Go ahead, Mitch.
this isn't even close. There's the 2 jobs that are actually that you would be entertained in taking is
The Raiders and Browns?
No, 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 no. The Browns head coach is going to have a massive problem coming up with Watson coming back and healthy and that contract. You still can't cut him for what that contract signed. That's going to be a massive problem. Realistically, this is the Falcons or the Ravens. And we'll just go with the big elephant in the room with the Ravens. Like, so look at like what we just talked about, Anthony Glenn or whatever. It's like, think about all the coaches that have been hired in the last, whatever decade. They don't, and this is why the Titans are interesting for what I'm about to say, but you have to come in and like, what's his name? Dan Quinn of the Commanders. You come in and then you have to draft Jaden and you have to produce him. Like where these teams are coming into, the Jets head coach, Glenn came into, Justin Fields and Cook, and like you inherit terrible situations and terrible rosters normally. Okay, look at the rosters for the Falcons and the Ravens. Look at the Ravens. You have a 2-time MVP who's 28 years old, a complimentary piece in Derrick Henry, who has been number 1 or number 2 in leading the league in rushing yardage last 2 years. They rebuilt that O-line. They have 3 great young guys that are on rookie contracts that all you have to do is re-sign them. You only have to replace John Simpson at the right tackle. So you now have basically a 28-year-old 2-time league MVP. That doesn't happen. You don't take over head coaching jobs and inherit that. And then you look at the Falcons, whether you want to keep Cousins or not could be your own discretion. That's a good problem to have. And you have Bijan, maybe the best running back. That offensive line has also got 2 Pro Bowlers and a great offensive line that already signed. And London and Pitts, and there's talent there. There's so much talent there on these 2 teams. If you want to look at the defense side of the balls, we can get in that later, blah, blah, blah. Ravens need to do some rebuilding, and so do the Falcons, but whatever. So that's what you're inheriting. Look at all the coaches in the last decade. The teams they've inherited have all been like the Jets, where you have no QB. All your picks, all your top players have been traded away. You have to rebuild through the draft. You have to take a risk on which QB you want to take in the draft, like the Patriots of a Drake May or, a Jaden or that kind of stuff, or the Bears with a Caleb. You have to actually build it, take this. There's no risk with the Ravens. Here you go. Go win. Like they've 8 of the last 9 seasons, or I think it was with Lamar, 5 of the last 6 or whatever. Like these teams, and also a year ago, you're one Mark Andrews catch away from being in the AFC Championship.
Oh, it's 3 years in a row, Mitch. So for those who don't remember, 3 years ago, Zay Flowers dropped a touchdown pass that got them eliminated from the playoffs. So I guess that was 2 years ago. Last year, Mark Andrews dropped a 2-point conversion that got them eliminated. And then this year, Tyler Loop missed a chip shot field goal that wasn't a playoff game, but it effectively was because it eliminated them from the playoffs by meaning they lost the division and didn't get in. So they've had one bonehead play by a different player 3 consecutive years that have cost them advancement.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is not your normal, like I'm willing to like think about all the coaches the last week. I'm not even kidding. Just start naming them. Like all the situations that you inherit there's nothing I haven't seen something like this. Like playoff teams and former winning Super Bowl teams and or head coaches and double MVP at 28 years old. I've never seen this. You cannot inherit a team like this. I mean,
so what you're saying is after 7 minutes, your answer is going to be the Cardinals?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you can argue Tomlin with the Steelers 19 years ago when he inherited Roethlisberger and Ward and what was his name? Not Mendenhall because the guy before him. So like you can argue maybe someone like Yeah, you had all that team was amazing. That's because Cowher
Joey
stepped
Porter
down.
Sr.
Yeah, Joey Porter and those guys. You stepped down because Cowher was done with coaching. So that was a rare thing. And so that's what I'm saying is like this is not a normal head coaching job opening. It's not even close. And then the Falcons would be the number one answer if Harbaugh wasn't fired because I think the Falcons are primed for a head coach to come in and really put that team to the next level. All right, next one. So I'll move on. You go, Miles.
All right, so I ranked them from 1 to 7 that are available. I agree with Mitchell's statement that the Ravens will probably be the hottest commodity to pick up just because of everything that Mitchell's laid out. I won't restate them because he did that very well, actually. Not actually, just very well. So good job on Mitchell on that one for
Sweet,
breaking down
thanks.
the Ravens. Because yeah, that Ravens are my number one pick. If who will be the first team to sign a quarter or sign not a quarterback, sign a head coach will be the Ravens.
Yeah,
They're set up to make a deep run next year. Their defense is legit once they
who's two
make
and three
this.
for you?
They have a competent GM. They have a competent franchise. They've always been relevant, and you have the pieces that are there. You have the quarterback, you have the running back that's still elite, you have talented wide receiver positions. They signed Bateman to a deal. They have Zay Flowers. They have a legitimate defense that stepped up in the second half once they made some trades and put Kyle Hamilton towards the line versus as a free safety. And you have also one of the, if not the best player on defense, Kyle Hamilton. So the Ravens would be my number one choice. I'm actually, as much as I do like the Falcons roster, I'm looking at organization overall of who would be enticing to go to. I'm picking the Giants number two. The Giants' core on offense is finally there, and Dable apparently is not the whisper that everyone thought he was. So if you get a competent coach into that offensive system that can move the ball and be relevant, the Giants have one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, and their secondary improved tremendously from last year to this year. So that defense is poised, ready, young, talented. And also look at the history of the Giants. Like that is a franchise as a head coach that I would want to work with the owner. I would want to work with the GM. I would want to work with that city, even if it's in New York, over the Falcons,
New
who have been
Jersey.
historically terrible. So if I was a head coach, I'd be looking at the Giants to be like, if I can't get the Ravens, Giants would be my first pick, just because they have the pieces there. They have draft picks that are coming up. And also look at the division. Do you trust Dallas? Do you trust, I mean, obviously Philadelphia, but they've been lackluster. But do you trust Washington to come back? So if you're looking at a team to win their division as a new coach, the Giants are poised to do that over the Falcons because I don't believe the Falcons are going to win their division next year, even with a new head coach, even with new talent. There's just too much inconsistency. It's just like it goes back to like you are the same level as the Cardinals. You are that bad as a franchise where your fans are like, oh, we're doing well, like versus the Steelers and Ravens where they're always expecting to be in the playoffs. So that's the only reason why I put the Falcons at 3. 4, I have the Browns because, in my opinion, that defense is next level. But because of how awful that offense is and how awful that organization is, they set back that defense. Their special teams and defense was so entertaining to watch this year. You're literally coming into one of the most elite teams. They're not going away. It's just a matter of, like Mitchell stated, like how you deal with the quarterback. You have an elite running back, Quicken Junkins, and you have pieces of an O line and pieces. I mean, other than like that can catch the ball. That rookie Harden or the tight end, they're probably going to let go of Njoku, so they have set up to spend money accordingly if you trust the franchise, which I don't. But for a head coach, it could be like, hey, they have the pieces there. Titans, I put fifth. 6, I put Cardinals, and then last I put the Raiders, just because those 3 teams are not looking good next year. There's too many question marks for the Raiders. They, instead of being smart and building a team from the line up, they went outside in, and it showed that it doesn't matter if you draft the best running back, he's going to leave in 2, 3 years because your team sucks. So if you don't have a competent quarterback, you don't have a competent O line, you don't have a competent D line other than Max Crosby. The Raiders have the biggest question marks. The Cardinals, on paper, going into the season, should have been a playoff contention team. But because of how mismanagement Jonathan Gannon was and how inept the owner is at Arizona, like that franchise is cursed because of bad ownership. And they finally got a new GM, and he's drafted well. And that defense, the Cardinals' defense is not bad. It's just how awful the offense was with Kyler Murray. And then when they put Jacoby Brissett, he threw a lot of yards and touchdowns, and you could finally see the relevance of Marvin Harrison Senior or Junior, Trey McBride, who's the best tight end in the league right now. You got literally Michael Wilson, who I predicted at the beginning of the year who would be a fantasy surprise, and it didn't happen until the second half of the year when they finally had a competent quarterback. So the Cardinals is an interesting one. It's just, can you overcome poor ownership, and what are you going to do at the quarterback situation? So those are my order from 1 through 7.
All right. I guess brothers really are like, you ask a simple question and you get a full 300-page essay with a dissertation. But all right, well, good analysis there, Miles. I'll go ahead and give my answer. I am going to say it's the Falcons, and my logic is this. One, I think they had one of the better defenses in the NFC. I think it was, especially their secondary, was really, really strong. I don't think it was talked about enough because their team was never really like top of the table. So I don't think it was talked about as much, but that defense is really good. Offensively, as long as you have Bijan, you can make something happen. Drake London is great if he can ever stay healthy. They do have to figure out their quarterback situation, but I just think that team has a pretty good core right now, and more importantly, they're in a weak division. Unlike a team like the Ravens, they're in a relatively strong division. Like, yeah, the Bengals had some issues this year, but I think they're going to bounce back. The Steelers obviously did well this year. They're in the playoffs. So that's a much stronger division, whereas the Ravens have a really weak division. The Falcons have a really weak division. I don't think anyone really believes in the Panthers. I mean, Vegas certainly doesn't, as we talked about. And then, yeah, the Bucs may be better next year, but they're by no means world beaters. So I think it's a very winnable division without having the high expectations that come with the Baltimore. Like I think Mitch mentioned, or maybe it was Miles. One of you guys mentioned how high expectations are with a Baltimore or a Pittsburgh franchise. So you don't have those high expectations while still having a good core and an easier division to compete in. So for me, the best available job is the Falcons. The other question I asked that you guys didn't really touch on, do you think any of these coaches didn't deserve to be fired? Were you shocked by any of these? You're like, whoa, I don't think they should have lost their job.
Yes, Harbaugh. That was, to me, was a left field. The Ravens was also
No,
also the Browns too. The Browns threw me off. Like
Stefanski.
Stefanski was. I think Stefanski is a good coach. I think he game manages properly. It's just his situation being in a terrible franchise. He did the best he could, and he's the reason why he won 2-time Coach of the Year and went to the playoffs twice with the Browns. I was kind of shocked that they wouldn't give him another year because again they played for him. Everyone else, not surprised. Titans head coach deserved to be fired. Gannon deserved to be fired from the Cardinals. Dable deserved to be fired from the Giants. Raheem Morrison definitely deserved to be fired from the Falcons. The Raiders, I felt sorry for Pete Carroll. I really did, but he did kind of deserve to get fired. Just because that team was other than Titans the first 4 weeks, the Raiders were the worst team in the NFL. The Titans first 4 weeks, abysmal. After that, they kind of improved, and there was some showing the last few weeks. They put up points with the interim head coach. What's his name? They used to be the Chargers head coach. I forgot his name. But at least the Titans were producing. The Raiders were not producing. So I don't know if that was a reflection on Carroll, of just outdated system.
Right. So
Those are two.
they all deserve to be fired, and the only one you can argue is maybe Stefanski because of the how his hands were tied behind his back due to the Watson deal. Like that set that franchise back 3 or 4 years, losing 3 first-round draft picks. So you could argue Stefanski's fine, but all the rest deserve to be fired 100%. And then I'm going to throw in another name in there is if the Bills do not go to the Super Bowl this year, Doug McDermott definitely needs to be fired. So it's not that any of them are unjust. I have a couple questions for both of you.
Well,
Um, yeah.
is it related to what we're talking about? Because if not, I was
Yeah.
going to ask more.
Yeah.
Okay, then go ahead.
I was just gonna say, would you rather come into a situation where you have the number one overall pick, uh, and you just put in a new GM who's the assistant from the Bucks that came over. He's a new young guy. You've got I know Alex doesn't really care, but you got Tom Brady's involvement and all that. Or would you rather come
Anything with Tom
into
Brady's involvement, I don't know part of that cheating scumbag. So
yeah, or would you rather come into a situation being hired by the same guy who made the Deshaun Watson deal?
I mean, you are making the cheating scumbag look better in that particular scenario. I'll be honest. That's
Exactly. So I don't want to be any head coach. That's why the Browns have to be last. I do not want to be hired by the guy who made the Watson deal and crippled the franchise for 3 or 4 years and then got rid of Stefanski, who's not a bad coach. That is by far the worst out of any of them, and that's including the Cardinals and the division that they're in. I would rather go to the Cardinals than the Browns. It's not even close. And the Raiders are higher up for me just because you have the first round pick. So
You rather go to Tennessee's abysmal team? Like that team's abysmal.
I don't know if
Awful.
Callahan deserved to be fired. How many first round off play callers for new QBs get fired? They usually give them an extra year, unless you're Trevor Lawrence, who gets one fired every single year.
Did you
So
watch that first 2 months of football of the Titans? Because I did, and it was bad.
I mean, they definitely
Like,
got a lot better after he got
bad.
fired, but that could just be that the rookie had more experience, right? So it's hard to say, right?
yeah,
But
that's true. That's true. But to answer your question, I think they're all vastly justifiable.
yeah, when you're supposed to be an offensive minded head coach, and after the first 3 games you're giving up play calling, duties, like
Not good.
what are you doing? But no, but my one comment though on the Kevin Stefanski thing is, I think, like, I understand, like, okay, it may be a weird decision to let him go because who else are they going to get realistically? I think it had to do with him not being able to key in on a starting caliber quarterback. He's been through 13 starters over his course of time there, and it's like, yeah, part of that's on the franchise, but like also part of it's like you're clearly not developing any of these young guys that are drafting. So if you're not able to develop quarterback talent, and you
True.
now have another young quarterback, well, 2 if you count if you count the backup, like, you need someone who can develop a quarterback. And if you've shown that you're not the guy, then maybe they need to move on. I don't think they're going to get anyone better because they're the Browns, and like you said, no one wants to go there. But I think that might be the logic as to why he got fired.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like, perfect example. Bill Belichick was great when he had Tom Brady. He's been terrible everywhere else. Why? Because he needed someone that was elite at the quarterback position and that let him focus elsewhere. Like, the Patriots weren't just good because of Brady. The Patriots were good because they had an elite defense. They had an elite defense because he was able to focus on defense because he knew he was set at the quarterback position. Everywhere else he's been abysmal on both sides of the ball because he hasn't had that key piece in place, right?
For sure.
So it doesn't matter how great the Browns' defense is if you can't develop their quarterback. So that, I think, might be why. Again, I don't know if it's the right decision, but I think that might be the logic behind it, if there is any logic behind what the Browns do.
For
So
sure. Is
the
there
next,
any
go
is there
ahead.
any world where, like last year, a lot of people are talking about, well, whoever drafts Shador, you got Dion coming with. Like, is there any chance the Browns interview Dion?
I mean,
I wouldn't put past anything
I
by
wouldn't
that
put it past
franchise.
them for a couple reasons. One, they're the Browns. 2, because of the Rooney Rule, and you do have to interview an African American for the job. And like, no, hear me out. Like,
It's true. It's
this isn't a
sadly
racist comment. This is a legitimate comment, guys. You have to
I just thought it was funny.
you
Sorry.
have to interview someone who is
Person of color.
person of color, and that would be like what. The problem I have with that rule is simple. Of like, if you know who you want to hire, you're going to hire that person regardless of who you interview, right? Like, if you go into John Harbaugh's a free agent. Everyone wants John Harbaugh to be their coach, right? So like, if you go in knowing I want Harbaugh to be my coach, but I'm still required by the rule to interview someone who's African American or Asian American or what have you, like, yeah, you're going to interview that person, but you're not really trying to hire them, right? Well, if you go out as the Browns and you interview Deion Sanders, it gives the appearance of we're legitimately interviewing this person because people would believe that you're seriously considering him for the job because Shador is there and because of those conspiracy theories. So you can, check that box. And yeah, maybe they hire him because they're the Browns. Who knows what they'll do? But like, I'm just saying,
Also,
I
you'd be
wouldn't
the
put it
front
past them
page
because
of,
it checks a couple of boxes.
yeah, you'd also be the front page of the NFL News if they found out you were interviewing Dion. So you'd be a win. My other question to both of you is, what about McDaniels? Yes or no? Should have kept? Yes or no?
I think they keep him. I think they should keep him. I think McDaniels gets a lot of bad rep because of the elite teams that he plays against. He loses to them by like less than 1 score, but that team plays for McDaniels. Like the this has just been an off year for the Dolphins. I think McDaniels deserved to stay, in my opinion.
Yeah, so my next question was actually going to be, who do you guys think kept their job that should not have? And so, Mitch, you obviously brought up Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins. Look at their schedule. So they started the year 1-6. They ended the year 7-10, meaning they went 6-4 over the last 10 games. So they actually did turn it around. Now, it took them too long to turn it around, but they did kind of turn it around and right the ship, so to speak. So I don't necessarily think they were as bad as we thought they were at the beginning of the year. But as far as whether or not he should have kept his job, I don't know. It kind of feels like he's bulletproof, which I know is weird to say, but like people were talking about how he might lose his job when they were 1-6, and like that it never even seemed to like come up. They reporters were asking him should he keep his job, but that never came up. And then he benches Tua, and the backup come in, and he was a rookie yours, and he didn't do that well either. So like I don't know who's going to be their starting QB next year, but yeah, I understand why they kept him because he did turn it around, and it was kind of a down year. I mean, you lost Tyreek Hill for the year very early on, things like that. So
It's hard to answer this question because I look at every team that still has a head coach. I'm like, I know Mitchell's going to pick the Bills, but after seeing Hard Knocks and how that team plays for McCormick, he's just a leader of men. So it's like that's what you want in a head coach: people that can just lead your team and people rally behind you. So
well, I mean, you don't have to pick any team, right? If you don't think any. I mean, first of all, and just to be clear, I never want anyone to lose their job. I'm never rooting for that. Of course. I'm always pro player, pro coach over management because get your bag. So we're not saying we want people to lose their job. What I'm just asking is there anyone that you think based on performance and the situation should have lost their job that didn't? If there's not, you can say no. So I'm just curious if you thought there's someone that didn't that should have.
I'm going to say no because I'm looking at all the teams right now. Like, for example, Bills keep their coach. Dolphins keep their coach. Patriots, obviously. Jets. I think Jets should keep their coach. Cowboys for sure need to keep their coach. Giants are getting a new coach. Eagles should keep their coach. Commanders should definitely keep Dan Quinn in their coach.
Okay, Bengals we don't need to read off every single.
Exactly.
Every
so to me, like, I think I'm looking at all these teams and like, there's not one team where I think like, oh, even the Colts have like there's not one team I would pick that's like, oh, you kept your job. Even Todd Bowles is coming back for the Bucks. He deserves to come back for the Bucks.
All right, Mitch, what about you?
Mine's McDermott.
So does that mean you also think McDaniel should have kept his job?
Yeah, I do think McDaniel's kept his job. There's like some, I forget which show I was watching or whatever, but apparently one of them said they had an inside source inside the Dolphins management that apparently the owner Ross was calling around about to other owners of their opinion on McDaniels, and apparently he got reported back that McDaniels will make the best second-time head coach ever. So Ross goes, well, pretend I fired him and rehired him, so he's back as my second-time head coach. Apparently that's the story, that he was going to be out, but he got glowing reviews. So I don't know. McDaniels is fine. I think McDermott is in big trouble.
All right.
I also like McDaniels. He's fun. He's a fun coach.
All right, last coaching question then. So obviously week 18 came down to Ravens Steelers. Winner takes the division. We talked about how it went down. If the Ravens kicker makes that kick, we all think Harbaugh probably still has his job, right? Because they make the playoffs. If he makes that kick, does Tomlin lose his job?
So I don't know why and this is probably why Chris calls me the contrarian or whatever, but I'm like complete opposite on this scenario. Tony Dungy said he talked to the owners multiple times this season, and they never expressed to Tony Dungy that they wanted him to go help look for a new coach, that they loved Tomlin, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think Tomlin's job was ever in jeopardy. I think that's a fan thing where it's like the public, that pressure is coming from the fans, not actually the organization. And also back to the other thing.
I agree with that statement 100%.
Also back to the Harbaugh thing, I think Harbaugh was going to be fired in the same way McDermott's going to be fired if they don't make the Super Bowl. Just because Harbaugh lost that game or whatever, I think even if he wins that game, goes on, and then they lose to who they play in the first round, the Texans or whatever they'd play, and then they lose to the Texans, or even win that game against the Texans and lose the next game against the Bills or whatever, I think he was gone no matter what. So that's why that question, like that meme or whatever, miss left, Tomlin fired. I mean, down the middle, Tomlin fired, miss left or right, Harbaugh fired. I think Harbaugh and Dermott, if they don't get to a Super Bowl, are fired, and Tomlin was fine no matter what.
I agree with that. I don't really have much to add on to that one. I agree with that one.
All right, fair enough. Well, then, do you guys have anything else to discuss relating to coaching or the NFL carousel or things going on. I guess one thing we didn't do actually is we didn't actually make our picks for this upcoming week. So why don't we do that? We talked about the playoff bracket and who like Super Bowl sleepers and favorites are. So let's just go ahead and make our picks real fast here, boys. So Steelers and Texans. Let's go down the line and just. I don't need a 20-minute analysis. I just need who you're picking to win. Straight up. Don't worry about the line.
Steelers.
Who's winning?
I'm
Mitch,
not,
you got
no
the Steelers.
analysis. No analysis. Just pick a name. Steelers.
Miles?
I'm picking Texans.
Yeah, I also am on the Texans. So Miles and I are in agreement. Mitch is off on his own island there. We'll see what happens. Second game, Jags, Bills. Who you got?
Bills.
This is the hardest one this is the hardest pick for me. I'm picking the Bills, but this is a very difficult game to pick.
Yeah, this is a hard one for me too. I'm obviously taking the Jags based on what I said earlier. I just think if the Jags get past the Bills, they're going to the Super Bowl. So I'm taking the Jags. So we differ there as well. And then lastly, Pats Chargers. I think we're finally going to agree on one. Who wins Pats Chargers?
Pats.
I'm going with the upset with the Chargers.
Wow.
Oh, we're not going to agree because I'm also taking the Pats. All right. Real quick, go back through and pick with your heart. Does your pick change, Steelers and Texans? I know Mitch's doesn't.
No, I'd rather watch the Texans than watch the Steelers.
Okay. Yeah, I guess if anyone has like who they're rooting for is different than who you picked, let me know. All right, we'll go to the NFC now. Panthers, Rams. I think we're all gonna finally agree on one. Hopefully, Rams.
Yeah, Rams.
Rams.
All right, we finally agreed on one. Eagles, Niners, boys. Who we got?
Eagles.
This is the second hardest one. I'm picking the Eagles by like a last-minute field goal.
I agree with you, Miles. I think this one really hard too, but I'm taking the Niners, so we don't agree here either.
Wow.
And then lastly, Bears, Packers. Who you guys got?
No one.
Mitch has a tie.
No one's winning this one. There's no winners in this game.
This one's
Packers.
This one's a no-brainer for me. This is like the second easiest one. This is the Bears.
Mitch?
Packers. If I have to pick.
I'm also taking the Packers. I mean, I can't sit here and pick the Bears after all the crap I've given Caleb Williams this season.
I may be on this island, but this is like the second easiest game for me to pick.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely on that island. I mean, the 2-7 matchup is Miles on the island, right? Miles is taking the 7 seed in the AFCs by himself. He's taking the 2 seed in the NFC in by himself, which is weird to say out loud, but that's how it is. All right.
Only because of the matchup. I really think the Patriots got the worst first-round matchup for them.
Give me your Super Bowl matchup.
Okay, yeah, we're going to predict it now. All right, Super Bowl matchup.
Well, it might as well because then next week you'll know teams eliminated.
Broncos, Rams.
I mean, based on what I've been saying, I feel like I have to say Jaguars, Rams. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's Jags, Seahawks. I'm going to say Jags, Rams.
Okay, I was the same way. I was going to do Broncos, Rams, but it would not. I'd like Broncos, Seahawks. I know it's 2-1 seeds, so that's just a pansy pick, but I'll go Broncos, Rams.
All right, so I'm the differentiator there. We all three have the Rams, which tells me the Rams are going to get bounced
beat by the Panthers.
So,
First round, first game.
Does anyone actually think? Do you guys think Panthers could win?
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
No, but they literally played recently. That's what scares me, right? So like if you go,
they're the home team.
If you go to this game, I mean, yeah, like and last time they played in LA, right? Like, hold on, let me. Is there a way to see? Does it show?
Not only is it a home team, if that offense is somewhat competent, I'm not saying they're going to be. If that offense runs the ball with Rico Dowell and passes the ball to Chuba Hubbard and Bryce Young doesn't turn it over, they have a chance. Because that defense is legit, and their special teams is one of the best in the league. Their special teams.
They played 6 weeks ago.
If you want to rank number one special teams, I would take the Panthers special teams this year.
They played 6 weeks ago in Carolina and lost 31-28.
That was a fun game to watch.
No, it was, but I'm just saying, like, and I take it back. Devontae Adams was playing in that game, so like they were at full strength playing 6 weeks ago in Carolina. But I think one of the reasons, at least for me, that I don't give the Panthers a chance is their running game has gotten progressively worse as the season has gone on. You know, Chuba Hubbard was fine, then Rico Dowdle was a freaking all-star, then Chuba Hubbard was fine again, and now they both just kind of suck. And considering that Bryce Young is not a guy who's known to throw for more than 200 yards, if you can't throw, 206 probably is high for the season. If you can't throw for significantly more than 200 yards, and you also can't rush for more than 50, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, the only way I see that game is Stafford has another three-pick game. That's it. There's no chance. There's like zero chance for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was just he had 2 picks this game, and I think he had like 6 for the entire season. So,
Yeah. Well,
all
let's
right,
see how it
boys and
goes.
girls. So we've now talked about all the things that I originally had planned to talk about. I wanted to. So for the next little segment here, do you guys have more time? Or you want to wrap it?
No, it's fine.
I'm good.
All right. So at the beginning of the season, we recorded an episode, Mitch, Vinny, and myself, where we made some guesses at who was going to be what. So we're going to go over those guesses and how accurate we were, as well as how far off we were in our predictions. So we're going to start with who we picked to be the league MVP. So 2 of us chose Joe Burrow. You'll notice he's nowhere near the top of the list
We
for
could
quarterbacks here.
we could save this for when Vinny's on because aren't a lot of them going to be Vinny's?
Well, so I'm not doing the bold predictions. We're just doing the player props. I mean,
Gotcha.
there's no I don't know when Vinny will be back.
Sure.
So yeah, 2 of us picked Burrow. Vinny picked Mahomes. None of us came anywhere close. Mahomes was the closest to doing something. The season-ending knee injuries, whatever, because that was with 2 weeks left in the season. But I mean, Mahomes might have been a chance, but their team wasn't very good. I don't think any of those 3 guys ever realistically had a chance, or 2 guys ever realistically had a chance of being the MVP. Miles, I have to assume though you would have agreed with the Burrow pick as MVP since you did take him in the first round, yeah? Or second
Took
round.
him in the second
Second
round with the first QB off the board. Yes, that is correct. I had Joe Burrow as my MVP, my QB MVP.
So yeah, I think those picks were totally normal, just didn't work out. For comeback player of the year. So this one, do you know when these awards are given out, Mitch? By the way.
They usually
The
will
week before
do
the Super Bowl.
Okay.
they'll do a week before that. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll comeback player of the year. I think this one's gonna be more interesting. So I took Christian McCaffrey as my comeback player of the year. I think he has a strong chance of winning it. I don't know if Mitch, you always have odds. I don't know if you happen to have odds near you, but he finished as fantasy running back number 2. So there's definitely a chance for that. I would say it was a decent pick by me. Vinny took the Dak Prescott, which we already talked about today. I think he finishes as QB number 5. He left the last game of the season early because there's no point in playing it. If not, he would have at least been 4. I think.
Entering our Week 15 postseason, he was QB number 2 or 3. I think it was 3. So
Yeah,
he was really good this year.
yeah. I mean, again, if you just look at 4,500 yards, 30 TDs, like he had a monster year. So definitely someone who could be comeback player of the year. And then lastly was the most kind of interesting pick. I can't really show the stats as well. Mitch, you had 2 picks as always because you can never pick one guy. Your your secondary pick was Nick Chubb, and I mean I tried to show him, but I don't think it scrolls that far. He didn't even keep the starting job, so that one was wrong. But there he is. But your primary pick, I saw him a second. There he is. Your primary pick, however, was a defensive player, Aiden Hutchinson. So I'm not sure what stats Aiden Hutchinson.
He's 4th best odds to actually win it, but Christian, Trevor, Dak, Hutchinson.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I was going to say Trevor Lawrence might be winning it. Or
nice. So
Christian
we had 3 of the top 4 people to win the award. Were the guys that we picked.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the guys we picked are now have 3 of the 4 best odds. So I'd say we did a pretty good job with that one. So MVP
But Christian
we did
has
poorly.
overwhelming odds to win this one. It's
MVP
not
we
even-
did poorly. That one we did really well. Now rookie of the year. This one's going to be a little more interesting. Well, first we'll start with the worst take. And Mitch, I think you know that was yours. Do you remember who you picked?
Was it RJ Harvey?
No, you jokingly said R.J. Harvey because of your team, but then changed to your real answer, which if you stayed with Harvey, was better.
Was it the two-way player, Travis Hunter?
Yeah, the two-way player, and by two-way I mean bench and home.
No way. Yeah, no way player.
Yeah, can't even pull him up here, but he didn't play. Travis Hunter, he was hurt most of the year. He had that one good fantasy game, and everyone got excited,
And then went on IR.
and then went on IR. So There we go. So we can bring him up here. Yeah,
I thought if he was going to play both ways, there's just no way he wasn't going to be rookie of the year. It's like something you know what I mean? It's like, but nope.
he literally had 6 super mid bad games, whatever you want to call them. Then he popped off. This is like the first, 14 targets, caught 8 of them, 100 yards and a touch. He's going to be a baller. They went into a bye week. I think this is when Brian Thomas was injured. They're going to come out of the bye. Travis Hunter's going to be the guy. Wait, hold on. Why did Travis Hunter never play again? Oh, that's right. He got injured during the bye week. and was out for season.
There was a freak accident during a practice too. It's
Yeah.
so unfortunate.
So
And he looked so good in that Rams over. I think it was in London or Germany.
that
Was
one game, yeah. For context, they got absolutely destroyed in this game. The Rams beat them like a Cherokee drum. It was like 35-7 at halftime, but they did feed him the ball after that. But anyway, so yeah, Travis Hunter obviously not going to win the award. But the other two, I think, have a chance. We'll go with Vinny's next. I think it's the next least likely. Genty. Ashton Genty is Rookie of the Year.
He's not even top 5.
No, I didn't think he was going to be, but we had hopes
RJ
for him
Harvey
as
has
Raider
better
fans,
odds.
but almost got to the century mark, which is something you're happy about. I mean, he put up over what is that, 1,300 yards from scrimmage. Like he wasn't bad. He had 10 TDs, 1,300 scrimmage yards. Like he was solid. But the Raiders were just so bad that it's hard to give them an award. And then we had my pick, the one that Mitch did not like, but I did. Tedero McMillan. This was my pick to win Rookie of the Year.
Bear down.
Looking pretty good now, I imagine, with 70 catches, 1,000 yards, and 7 TDs. What are
He
his
was
odds, Mitch?
so much fun to watch.
He's number 1 odds.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's right. So that means I'm 2 of 3 with picking the guy with the best odds. I mean, that doesn't mean they're going to win the
If
award.
you guys
but
have to guess who 2, 3, 4, and 5 are for Rookie of the Year, best odds, who would you guess?
well, before we try to guess, are they offensive players or defensive players? Because we're not going to this is a fantasy podcast. I'm not going to know
This
that many
is
defensive
they have 2 different ones. So they're going to give out an offensive Rookie of the Year award, and they're going to give out a defensive one. So this is only offensive.
Gotcha.
And FYI, my pick was Ibuka. I remember putting that on record when you interviewed me. Sorry.
Buka's number 4.
Tyler Warren for sure.
He's number 6.
Really? I mean,
Yeah.
he did fall off, but that wasn't his fault. That was because Danny Dimes went down.
Yeah. Still, so you're missing 2, 3, and 5.
2, 3, and 5 rookie. Are they skill players?
2 and 3 are quarterbacks. 5 is a skill player.
Oh, see, that's. I mean, so Jackson. Are you talking about Jackson Dart and
Yeah, he's number 2.
Cam Ward?
No.
Tyler Shook.
Yep.
Wow.
Tyler Shuck, number 3. 4,
Yeah.
Buka, and 5 is
Cam
Miles. No, 5 is Miles. That's a good guess. He's 8 or whatever. But 5 is Miles' favorite running back.
Travion
Miles is your
Henderson.
favorite running back. Oh,
Travion
Travion Henderson. Okay. Yeah, which pretty much means it's going to be Tet McMillan when you hear the other names on that list.
Correct.
It has to be.
And
10.
then Shador's 7 or whatever. Shador is ahead of Ashton. So that just shows you where that is.
All right. Well, I just talked myself up with those great picks of CNC and McMillan. So it's
You
only
did.
fair that I now
Great.
throw myself under the bus with the last pick that we made. The last pick we made was our league winner. And just to refresh people's memory, this was someone that you were going to be able to take in the draft that could potentially win you the league. And we didn't mean like, oh, I have the first pick, I'm taking Bijan Robinson.
Oh,
We
gosh,
meant
that's
someone
in
that
the
you're able to
crazy.
draft in a late round for value who massively outperforms expectations based on where you can draft them and might potentially win you your league. Or maybe someone you can get off waivers because of an injury or something. So I really swung for the fences and could not have missed harder. I went Brandon Ayuk. My logic was that the Niners had to pass the ball to someone and they didn't have any wide receivers. Well, Ayuk didn't play this year and he's not going to be a Niner anymore. So that could not have been more wrong. So I'll take the L for that one, but I will talk you two up because Mitch, you took. Oh, actually, I lied, Mitch. I'm not going to talk you up. I'm going to talk you down again. I read
McCarthy?
this wrong. Do you know who you took, Mitch?
Was it McCarthy?
Yeah, your league winner, J.J. McCarthy.
Did I usually give 2 answers? What was my real answer?
No, that was your real answer on this one.
Oh, no.
No, on the MVP vote, you tried to give 4 answers. You tried to give all 4 quarterbacks: Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, and Burrow, and I wouldn't let you. I made you pick.
The McCarthy win hopefully didn't cost anyone any fantasy draft. Hopefully you took him with like the last pick of the draft.
So yeah, McCarthy, woo, solid. Yeah, no, obviously terrible pick. I mean, arguably worse than Ayuk because Ayuk at least didn't play. McCarthy played and was just bad. Vinny, on the other hand, I think Vinny hit the nail on the head with his. Do you remember who Vinny's league winner was?
Etienne.
Yeah, Vinny had Travis Etienne as his league winner. So if you go to running backs, let's see where Etienne finished here. Whoops. What is happening? My running backs aren't 1 and 2. Why is... Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Travis Etienne finishes RB9, which quite frankly was right there with Henry and Kyron for like RB7 really. So he finished as a top 10 fantasy running back, but he's someone that you're able to draft way, way later in the draft. So I think Etienne was a home run ball for Vinny making that pick. So yeah, overall to recap the picks we made, MVP we all missed, comeback player of the year I think we all hit. You know, I don't know which one of us will be correct. I think it's me based on the odds, but the fact that all three of us have
Oh
guys.
no, it's overwhelming Christian McCaffrey odds.
Right, but what I'm saying is the fact that the 3 guys we picked are the guys with 3 of the 4 best
Sure.
odds means we all 3 I think did a great job here. Rookie of the year, I think Vinny was fine with his. You got hosed, your guy went on IR, and obviously I think I had the best pick because mine has the best odds. And then league winner, you and I should not be part of this conversation, but I think Vinny did a great job with that.
Sure.
We also made some bold predictions. I'm going to wait to discuss those. 2 reasons. One, I'd really rather have Vinny here because he had some truly heinous bold predictions. And also...
Like the guy who has the best Super Bowl MVP odds right now is going to lose his job.
yeah, spoilers. But yeah, it would just be fun because like I want to include Miles and started to include Miles in a conversation that he wasn't a part of the original conversation. So that's the bulk of what I had for today, gentlemen. Was there anything else that you guys want to discuss? NFL related or just sports in general? Any news or anything that you guys had on the brain?
One last comment on my league winner. I had Tyler Warren, which obviously I drafted him, but that was who my league winner was. But he was...
Yeah, no, and that was a solid pick. Like I said, I mean, he finished as tight end 7, but like he was much higher before the injury, right? He was
before Daniel Jones.
He was like,
yeah.
I think Daniel Jones got hurt somewhere around here in like 1, 1, 3, 4, 2.
1, 3.
For where Tyler Warren was being drafted, he was being like the 6th, 7th tight end off the board. He was originally
6, 7.
before, yeah, exactly, 6, 7. He was rated number 10, and then he got higher reviews, and then his draft value rose up in like every league that I went. But for me, it was Tyler Warren.
It's also worth noting, like we're not a PPR league, but if you were in a PPR league, he was even better. Like he was so good in PPR. I had him in a PPR league, and like he was a monster.
I think for me, Tyler and Javonte were the 2 guys that I was most disappointed in myself and not seeing, pre what do you call it? Pre-draft or whatever. Those are the 2 biggest ones. Like, I feel like I should have, you should see coming and you just completely missed.
And I just want to say that the tight ends are such a crapshoot. I mean,
True.
If you told me before the year that Kyle Pitts was going to be tight end 3, I think Mitch would have laughed you out of the room.
Oh, I'm still laughing. There's no way. I don't believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm still in shock that Kyle Pitts is.
He's ahead of Brock Bowers. In what world?
I mean, look at the average. Like, if you sort by average, Brock Bowers jumps back
Oh, that's
up.
right. He did miss. Like, I forgot.
So let's keep that in
Totally
mind.
forgot. Yeah, Tucker Kraft. Wow. Shh, no one tell about Tucker next year. Shh, keep it on the down low.
I remember people giving Chris a bad pick. I was like, Tucker Kraft had some potential promise, and then he like blew up this year. So Tucker
All
Kraft.
that red, IR, red, IR. That's tight ends are no bueno.
Except for Trey McBride. He's the only good.
Well, Trey McBride once Kyler Murray
Kyler.
got
That's
benched.
that.
Oh,
Yeah, I
man.
would've, talk about bad bets. I
Like
would've lost
with
money.
Kyler, he had one double-digit game, and then came the era
Of Brissett.
of Brissett, 13, 19, 11, 18, 17, 7, 14, 5, 25, 2, 13, 6. I mean, just wow.
Yeah, McBride hopes Brissett's the QB next year.
This
That's
is what he did against me in the fantasy Super Bowl against Houston's defense. 12 for $134 and 2 TDs. Like, come on.
yeah.
Aye. All right, boys. Well, thanks for being here. It was so nice to be back on the pod. Delvers, I hope you enjoyed it. I know we were gone for too long, so hopefully we start getting you back to getting some regular content. Any final words for the squad before I shut it down, boys?
Congrats, Matt.
Congrats, Matt, and go Ducks.
Oh no, go Ducks! Yeah, for those who don't know, what did we end up doing? I think we talked about this. We did end up making the playoffs in that league. We lost in the first round of the playoffs, and then looks like we also lost in the third place games. We got fourth place, which I'm pretty sure doesn't get any money. I imagine third might have gotten our entry fee back or something, which is fun. There's third place game. So yeah, we lost, but at least we made the playoffs, and that I think that's still big for us. The fact that we came in and we put together a squad. We drafted as a three-headed squad, and even with the injury issues and whatnot, and having horrendous fantasy D, we still were able to make the playoffs. I think it's a feather in the cap.
Be honest with you, if we go back and change our first round pick, we might have won this league.
Yeah, if we draft not Saquon Barkley, absolutely. So
if we draft any of those other guys that we were high on,
yeah. Or, if you guys didn't make me take Hawkinson and J.J. McCarthy. Who knows, right? Who knows?
That didn't cost us anything, though. JJ was like the end.
I don't know, not having starting tight end. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, but more importantly, go Ducks finished 8th. Get out of here, go Ducks. I don't know why.
And
I guess just because of the consolation bracket in the actual ratings, he did a lot.
Yeah, and he's got like 2 more wins than those other 2 teams.
I think there's a consolation bracket when like people probably didn't bother starting people, right? So,
Agreed. Yeah. Especially depending on the money size, people aren't going to play for 4th or 5th place.
But yeah, worth noting in the playoffs, we would have beat any other team, except we had to play the top seed because we were squeaked in the playoffs. But if you look at the score here, our 132 would have beat either of the other 2 teams.
And it was the winner.
It wasn't meant to be. Anyway, boys, Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed it. Say goodbye to all the people out there listening.
See ya.
Until next time, thank you for having me.